This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Some right-winger asked me if I thought I was smarter than Mark Levin. The answer to that, yes. I just saw that right as I was coming on. The answer is very much yes. Way smart. I don't even think I'm a smart person. And I'm way smarter than dumb fuck Mark Levin. Yes. You stupid pieces of shit. I love how people get upset at me telling them not to listen to internet grifters. That's like the thing I preach constantly. Stop letting internet grifters tell you what to think. Mark Levin, perfect example of a dumb fuck internet grifter that you shouldn't let tell you what to think. Don't let any left-winger tell you what to think. Fucking think for yourself. Get some critical thinking skills. But definitely don't let Ben Shapiro tell you, or Steven Crowder, or Tim Pool, or any of the other million dumb fuck nonsense right-wing bullshitters that are out here making a shit ton of money just feeding you what you want to hear. It's confirming your biases. You stupid pieces of shit. I used to come on the show back in the very first year. I would come on and we did a segment that I called Reefer and a Rant. I would just rant about whatever was pissing me off that day as I smoked pot. That's how we used to start the show. By Stupid Sexy Hassan. I saw somebody in the comments. It was the Daily Show. The Daily Show did a segment on Hassan. And I saw somebody in the comments that was like, he's not even a member of the Democratic Party. Why do you guys elevate him? I'm like, if he doesn't have fealty to the Democratic Party, wouldn't that make him, someone to listen to? I don't know. I don't even care. I don't like influencers. I don't want to be an influencer. If I ever got big, I'd be like, don't listen to me. I'm a dumb fuck. All the time. Like, really? You listen? Which, I mean, to be fair, RFK Jr. said exactly that. In a hearing, don't listen to me. I'm a dumb fuck. But you're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. I mean, it's true. Nobody should listen to you. You are a dumb fuck, but you're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. A little different. People are supposed to listen to you. Trump making his way to the Middle East. Touchdown, I guess last night, our time, or earlier this morning. I don't fucking know. Time breaks my brain. Apparently, this speech he gave broke neocons' brains, or at least that's what a bunch of neocon accounts are saying. So I don't know what to think. We're gonna listen to a little bit of his speech and see what we think. Here's your meme of the day. Speaking of grifters and bullshit. Not high enough for this shit. Sorry I wasn't on last night. It was storming really bad. Really crazy looking cloud was outside. Cleared up right about the time the show was about to start. Bright sunshiny. I was like, I should have done a show. I don't give a shit. Really didn't feel like doing it anyway. News is a bummer. Need to protect my mental health sometimes. Just go swimming in some sewage. Speaking of swimming in the sewage, let's go over what we're going to talk about tonight on the show. Other than RFK, he testified in front of Congress today. We got video of the New Jersey mayor who was detained Newark mayor shares video showing that nobody assaulted any ICE agents. This is as Fox calling for the arrest of 3 Democratic lawmakers. AOC apparently is threatening officials. That makes me like her even more. Marjorie Taylor Greene gets into it during testimony earlier today. Kristi Noem, who can be my GOP mommy, asked point blank about the doctored photo that says MS-13 on Abrego Garcia's hand. New report says that the Trump administration smuggled in violent cartel members from Mexico. They're rich, that's why. Tulsi Gabbard fires several officials for contradicting Trump. Has a message for the public. AOC apparently got feisty today in Congress. I love it. That CNN dude that's always going crazy over graphs and shit, we're going to listen to him talk about the popularity of the upcoming Republican bill. Spoiler alert, not very popular. However, Trump's popularity bouncing back. Actually looking decent in polls. Kevin McCarthy went on Fox News to defend David Hogg as the DNC tries to oust him from his vice co-chair position. Surprise election in Omaha. The Democrats pull off a upset in a strong red area in a mayoral election. Congressmen have now found secret passages inside of the House. A woman who has been declared legally brain dead, is being kept alive to incubate her pregnancy. Fucking dystopian. Right-wingers are calling for a pardon of murderer Derek Chauvin, because of course they are. We got video of COs getting attacked at a corrections facility in Big Stone Gap. A teen in New Jersey held captive for years. A couple have been arrested. A police officer and a victim break down a sex trafficking ring in Colorado. Video of a firefighter dumping his fiance going viral. And dipshit Democrats are calling impeaching Donald Trump a publicity stunt. Meanwhile, they've suggested flying planes over Mar-a-Lago, calling it Qatar-a-Lago. As if that's not a publicity stunt. All that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Good evening. This is what happens when you lobotomize the wrong Kennedy. Byronic, Holiday, Flash, Warlord. Welcome in, friends. So glad to see you guys. Meat Cakes. I tried to come on a little early and smoke some pot, listen to some music, and it didn't work out too well. So we're going to have to find out what that dude's be doing. Fuzzy Simba, Oregon gal, welcome in. Trump making his way to the Middle East, landing in Saudi Arabia today, I believe. Was that his first stop? Clinically, good evening. I believe he made his first stop in Saudi Arabia. This is the Lusail Palace. No, this is Qatar. He went to Qatar first, I guess. That's where he's getting the jet. He's very excited to get on his jet. made this trip with him. This poor dude over here in his military uniform that's too big for him. Girl, good evening. With her boyfriend. Great answer. Great answer.
Nice house.
Nice house.
Just something like that.
I believe he's jealous. I hate it when any U.S. president goes and does this shit. I'm right. It's Qatar. Open, welcome in. This is his speech. This was the U.S. Saudi Investment Organization, or whatever the fuck it's called. Investment Forum. The U.S. Saudi Investment Forum. This is where he gave the speech. This is apparently breaking neocons' brains. That's what right-wingers are saying about. We've even got a little, this is the woman that replaced Bongino. This is the woman that took over for Bongino after he took a position with the FBI.
Where he signals a seismic shift in American foreign policy, a rejection of neocon interventionists. This was truly very well articulated.
This is a Brett Cooper ripoff, right?
Before our eyes, a new generation
Avita?
of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are...
You know who Qatar is?
Not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing.
Those cities were created off the backs of the greed of Americans who wanted cheap oil. Just throw that out there. And yet, yes, the neocon interventionists that help keep despots in power in the Middle East.
Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were...
Who the fuck is he talking about?
...complex societies that they did not even understand them.
U.S. defense contractors, yes.
They had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love.
The arrogance of nation building, as if Western hands could sculpt societies in our own image without any kind of consequence. And there have been consequences.
Wait a minute, didn't Didn't Western societies sculpt what? Wait, I thought that was the thing that all the Nazis are always saying, that the West built modern society and all that good shit. These people can't keep their stories straight.
Loss of human life. Mass immigration because we've destabilized the entire region. An inability to...
You know that was your side, right?
Grow rich off each other. We can't, you don't, there's no way to make money off of a country that's been destroyed. There's no mutually beneficial relationship that can be had because one of them is in rubble. So that speech was a gut punch to the establishment's obsession with control and manipulation abroad.
Why is this 20-year-old telling me anything?
Because just yesterday, President Trump lifted sanctions on Syria, giving the country a chance to rebuild after the West very stupidly destabilized the country for years, attempting to destroy Assad, who was recently ousted from the country. He had to flee to Russia. Finally happened after, again, years of pushing for regime change in Syria, which is something Tulsi Gabbard called out for a very long time, and she was smeared. She was smeared as an Assad toady, an Assad asset, a Putin lover. Anything you could throw out there against Tulsi Gabbard, they did, because she said, listen, Assad might not be great, I don't love Assad, but at least he's protecting the Christians and other religious minorities. And I think some of you mentioned in the chat, well, I bet Avita's going to say that Trump is anti-Christian because he lifted sanctions on Syria. Obviously, that Christians are being persecuted in Syria right now. The reason they're being persecuted in Syria is because this country, as well as other Western nations, engaged in a years-long regime change operation that resulted in Assad getting kicked out of the country, and now Syria's...
I don't want to say that we've had no intervention in Syria, because I'm sure we have. It's been very covert. It has not been anything that has been openly carried out by the U.S. We've been pretty hands-off. Now, I would guess that the U.S. did indeed want regime change. Yeah, we did things like that, as we always do. But we were pretty hands-off to the point that Obama drew a red line. Assad went over the red line, and we still did nothing about it. We talked a big game, but didn't actually get involved in Syria. So I don't know what her point is. Did she want us to not get involved? Or because she was talking about how interventionists were bad. I'm not sure what her point is, and also she's 20 fucking years old. What life experience, what knowledge of history does she have to say anything?
Al-Qaeda terrorist, Muslim radical.
I don't know that she's 20.
Yes, are persecuting Christians. But I think what Trump is signaling here is, okay, Assad was ousted. It was not my doing. Obviously, this happened because of the Biden admin and also years of foreign policy that has been disastrous. And so we're just saying we're not going to be involved in this anymore. We're going to hopefully let them rebuild in some way, but we aren't going to engage in the same kind of nation building, the same kind of subversion.
Guess who this Nepo baby is? Oh, this is Avita Pillar Duffy, the daughter of Rachel Campos Duffy, the Fox News host, and Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary. She's 25 years old. Daughter of Rachel Campos Duffy from Fox News and Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary. Is Avita on Bongino. Avita Pillar Duffy. Only has 36. Oh, no, that's not her. I'm sorry. Maybe? No, it is. This is her. Okay. So she must be married now. She's Avita Duffy Alfonso. apparently has appeared in a couple different movies. Who is Michael Alfonso? That is her husband. The first one that comes up is a murderer. I don't think he's anybody of note. I'm sorry. Why am I going down this rabbit hole? We've got news to do. Trump announcing a $200 billion deal between Boeing and Qatar. Did I say it right that time, Flash? Why is he brokering a deal for Boeing? And I thought he had problems with Boeing.
Well, thank you very much. And this has been a very interesting couple of hours. We discussed the world. We discussed Russia and Ukraine, where you've been a tremendous help in so many different ways. We certainly discussed Iran, where it's been really an interesting situation. I have a feeling it's going to work out. I think it's going to work. It's got to work out one way or the other. We know it's going to work out. But you were of great help. And other things, but in particular trade. The trade is Kelly's telling me from Boeing, that's the largest order of jets in the history of Boeing. That's pretty good. And that's 140, was that a 140 or 160? Well, yeah, but you're right, it's actually 200, including the 40, so it's over $200 billion.
Oh, we're doing some fucking Steiner math now.
60 in terms of the jets. That's fantastic. So that's a record, Kelly. And congratulations to Boeing. Get those planes out there. Get them out there. But I just want to thank you. We've been friends for a long time, long before politics. Well, for you it was politics. For me it wasn't, right? But we've been friends for a long time, and this is an outstanding man. He's a great man, and
they have to think he's the dumbest fuck ever.
The United States is in a very strong position militarily. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. You're buying a lot of that equipment, actually, and I think we're going to see some of it in action tomorrow at the, we won't call it an air fair, but it's going to be sort of an air fair. We're going to be shown a display that's going to be incredible. They have the latest and the greatest of our planes and just about everything else. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun and very interesting, but I just want to thank you for the friendship, for the long-time friendship. And again,
I mean, if some good comes of it.
Stuff. We just liked each other. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Trump was a DEI hire.
We always had a very special relationship. And we came from Saudi Arabia, where we have...
By special relationship, he means jacking each other off.
And you two guys get along so well. And
they played Monster Rain.
Remind me a little bit of each other, if you want to know the truth. They're both tall, handsome guys that happen to be very smart. But he's also a very special guy, and it's good to see all the relationships forming in the Middle East, because the Middle East is really being talked about all over the world, and we're having a lot to do with it. We're helping a lot, but they're doing a tremendous job. So
I mean, the Scahill interview from Majority Report yesterday is incredibly enlightening. That's I think, Flash, you might have been alluding to that when you said like them being able to play him. Because that's what Scahill was talking about with Sam. DJ Dub, good evening.
Very much for being here. I want to thank the media. The media has been very fair, actually. And
what?
It's a great honor to be with you. This is...
the media in Saudi Arabia is very fair. They'll cut your head off if they don't like what you had to say.
Take a look at this room. This room is the real deal. That's called white marble. It's very hard to buy. Believe me, I know very well, because you try to buy it, you can't buy it. And you just take a look at what you have here. It's been incredible what you've been able to build as a nation. And we're with you all the way, and you know that.
The interview with Ezra was weird, because I watched that today. Usually I watch the Majority Report after the show, but I watched the interview as I was eating dinner. And I forgot that it was Ezra, and I was like, oh, I'm really excited for this. And I think there's a lot of respect between the two of them. I think they agree on a lot of things. I think Ezra is really slippery. And trying to find because he kept disagreeing with Sam but not articulating what the disagreement was. Like, I agree with Ezra to an extent. Like, hey, there are regulations, the liberal order that we put in place. I feel like he made a great argument for, stronger central planning. And countering neoliberalism with a healthy dose of communism. I think with Ethan Klein, and I did go back and watch the rest of that, and I wish I hadn't. It's kind of a waste of my time. I felt like Ethan was doing the same thing that Ezra was doing, and was trying his best to weasel out. And no, I agree with you on this, and I agree with you on this, and I actually blah, 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 and really highlight, like, I believe this, and playing to the audience, I guess. I guess I can't blame Ezra. He's trying to sell books. It was a train wreck you couldn't help but watch. I understand. Oh, yeah. To try to focus on what they agree on and keep it away from the disagreements. I've heard that Ethan declared victory, and I don't know how you can, because it was basically just him capitulating that, like, yes, Sam, I think you're right. Yes, Sam, I think you're right. That's what it felt like he did the whole interview. I should try to get Ethan Klein's attention. At this point, I might be able to, because he's apparently focused on internet drama and on a downslide. I've never had a tweet that got 1,000 likes, Flash. I've never had a tweet. I have a video that has like 776 likes on it, and that's the best I've done. It was a short on YouTube, and I don't remember which one it is now, because I saw it and I was like, oh, why? Well, wow, that's awesome that it has that many likes. I had no clue. I don't know anything about Ethan Klein. I would be afraid if I tried to go up against Ethan Klein that the same thing would happen to me with Destiny, and I don't know fucking shit about him to call him out on anything, right? You're speaking gibberish to me, Flash. I'm such a boomer. Even Curiouser called me a boomer the other day. She was talking about some drama. I'm like, I have no idea who you're talking about. And she's like, oh, God damn it, boomer. Like, it sounds like gibberish to me. Because she was talking about, like, some drama between blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, ugh. The sad part is I'm not even a Gen Xer. I'm a millennial. Barely, but I'm a millennial. And let me tell you, as someone who went back to college, the first time in 2002, went back in 2009. So this is like 7-8 years. Big difference between the elder millennials and the younger millennials. My lord, did I tell you good evening? Lenny, did I get you, my friend? So glad to see you all. Articles of impeachment. I could have sworn you said something earlier. You're fucking with me. You're gaslighting me, telling me that was your first chat. I saw you earlier, did I not? Maybe when I came on for a second. No, only Holiday was there. My microphone wasn't working, and I had no idea why. I had to unplug it from the back and plug it back in, and it works. Smokey and Socks over here loving on each other. All right. Anyway, articles of impeachment have been introduced in the House. Some Democrats plug it in. Well, I unplugged it from the back of the board and plugged it back in. That didn't work. I had to unplug it from the back of the computer and plug it into a different slot. And that worked. I'm not on Linux. I'm on Windows. Weird shit. So, Democrats have filed articles of impeachment against Trump. I think for the jet this time, I can't even keep up because we've already had articles filed a couple different times and it hasn't gone anywhere. Cicero, good evening. But several Democrats are calling it just a publicity stunt.
As House Republicans advance pieces of their mega bill with party line votes, Democrats are beginning to hone their message in opposition. Take a listen to Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries this morning.
Republicans are really pushing an extreme agenda at this point in time, directed by Donald Trump. And unfortunately, what we've seen is that Republicans in the Congress continue to simply be a rubber stamp as opposed to standing up for the best interests of their constituents.
Joining me now is Pennsylvania Democratic Congressman Brendan Boyle. He is a member of the House Ways and Means Committee and spent the night in markup for the
Looks like a Boyle
package. I know you are.
Yes, spent the night. It was like a 20-hour. Remember that when we get to all the representatives that fell asleep. It was a 20-hour session of Congress.
Teary-eyed today. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. You were up all night with the Ways and Means Committee with all Democratic amendments.
Up all night to get lucky.
The provision of this package did advance. It advanced along party line votes. And you have said you are going to keep fighting this. How do you do that, given that you're in the minority?
Yeah, so first let me explain and apologize up front if I sound incoherent or more incoherent than normal. We started early.
I would guess 42.
All through the night, not concluding
48.
8 a.m. this morning. So we'll do my best here to explain what is a very large and complicated piece of legislation. The bottom line, though, is, and this is really the biggest piece, and Congressional Budget Office confirmed these figures. This piece of legislation that passed Ways and Means last night or at 8 o'clock this morning will strip away health coverage from at least 13.7 million Americans. They will take those cuts and the money saved from Medicaid spending that otherwise would happen, as well as spending in the Affordable Care Act, and instead divert that and more.
They still got to find more money. Just that 13 million in cuts, not or the 13 million people they want to take off of insurance, not enough to fund their tax cuts.
For tax cuts that mostly go to multimillionaires and billionaires. You can understand why even conservative Republican Senator Josh Hawley called this morally wrong.
Well, and I was just talking about all of this with Congressman Johnson and the issue of Medicaid specifically. He says the CBO numbers are not totally accurate. He rejects them. But he also makes this broader argument, which is that Republicans are looking to find as much as $800 billion in cuts. And he argues, other Republicans argue, that Medicaid should not be going to people who are able-bodied, who can get coverage through their work. What is your response to that?
Well, so first, let me be clear, because I heard a lot of this over the course of 18 hours from my Republican colleagues. I don't for 1 second support anyone who would defraud the system. Frankly, I find it offensive. It's offensive to anyone who's going out for a living and working. I don't.
So you hate Rick Scott,
who can work, choosing not to do so, and being on.
Why? Why is it always framed as individuals are defrauding the system when that is not at all true? Like, it's like 98, 99%, all like providers. It is all the middlemen that you put in place for Medicaid that are doing the scamming, like Rick Scott.
Do you know if you take all of those people who are able-bodied, if you take even the most wildly high projections of fraud, they wouldn't factor even 10% of the cost of the cuts that Republicans are pushing through. Furthermore, the Congressional Budget Office is the authority here. They are scrupulously nonpartisan. The fact that Republicans are now disputing their figures shows just how awful they are when you consider, I mean, upwards of 14 million people losing their health coverage because of this. That would be the greatest loss of health care coverage in American history. Not even during the Great Depression did we see that many people lose their health care.
Well, not a lot of people had health care back
Discussion
then.
about what is effectively an end run around the Speaker of the House to prevent cuts
Kind of a bad
to Medicaid, to prevent
example.
cuts to food stamps. It's called a discharge petition. What is the latest on that effort, Congressman? Is that realistic? Do you see that having any legs?
Yeah, you know, I'm always wary to talk about any, tactics that we may take either now or in the future. But I will say the most straightforward way to defeat this is exactly what happened 8 years ago when the Affordable Care Act was saved. You had just enough, only a few, Senate Republicans who famously voted, including the late, great John McCain, giving the final
He
thumbs
wasn't
down.
great.
And that was what was able to save the ACA. So here,
But we got to depend on sane Republicans.
when we're talking about cuts not only to the ACA, but devastating cuts for those who are on Medicaid, it would literally just take 3 House Republicans, 3 out of about 220 House Republicans joining with House Democrats
Hey, good luck with that.
stop these devastating cuts. This is a great opportunity for political courage from just a few of them that would make the ultimate difference. So I appeal to them to join with us and save health coverage for 13.7 million.
Oh, God, we're fucked. 13 million people are losing their health insurance.
Exactly how to oppose the bill. There is this impeachment resolution.
Exactly. Clinically fucking moron.
Or do you think this is a misguided attempt? This is by your colleague Sri Thinder.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and predict
Yeah, there's probably going to be 10 Democrats that join the Republicans.
is not going to impeach Donald Trump, and certainly we are not going to find 67 votes in the U.S. Senate anytime soon. That is for sure. So I think it's very unfortunate that my Democratic colleague, who right now is facing a very stiff primary, chose to engage in what essentially is a publicity stunt for himself, when I and my colleagues have been up all throughout the night trying to save health coverage for millions of Americans. That's what we should be focusing on at this moment.
All right, well, I do
Wow.
turn to former President Biden, the state of the Democratic.
Let's not. Let's not at all, shall we? It's a publicity stunt. It's a publicity stunt to file articles of impeachment against Trump. What is totally going to work more and is not a publicity stunt is the DNC
Trump is in Qatar.
flying a sky banner saying Qatar-a-Lago over Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. That's totally not a publicity stunt. The DNC plans to fly a plane pulling a sky banner that says Qatar-a-Lago over Mar-a-Lago on Wednesday. It's flying a plane to protest a plane. Specifically, to protest the Trump administration's plan to accept a jet from Qatar, as well as the Trump family's business deals in the Gulf, amid Trump's high-profile visit to Qatar on Wednesday. The Trump administration is preparing to accept a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet from the royal family of Qatar. In social media posts on Sunday night, Trump confirmed his administration was preparing to accept the aircraft, calling it a very public and transparent transaction. Separately, Trump will arrive in Qatar just 2 weeks after his son Eric Trump inked a deal to develop $5.5 billion golf club north of Doha. But hey, I'm sure what the Democrats are doing is working. It's really turning the tide on public opinion. Trump approval rating rises to 44%. Americans worry less about a recession. President Donald Trump's approval rating rose this week as Americans worried less about his handling of the economy and prospects of a recession, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll. The two-day poll showed 44% of respondents approved of the Republican leader's performance, up from 42% in a prior Reuters Ipsos survey carried out the end of April. The poll had a margin of error of 3 percentage points. Carpe, welcome in. So, hey, his approval rating rising. Good job, Dims. Yay. Newark Mayor Baraka shares a video saying we were invited into the detention center. Newark Mayor Ross Baraka posted a video to attempt to prove he did not trespass at Delaney Hall. The interim U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey, Elena Haba, remember her, the dumb fuck from the Trump trials? I don't even remember which one she represented him in. Alleged Baraka did trespass the ICE facility. Baraka was arrested outside the new ICE detention facility on May 9th. Do we have the video? Hold on. Perhaps this browser just won't play it. I could have sworn it had video with it. Oh, here we go. This video shared by Mayor Baraka showing that he was invited into the facility. So they can't charge him with trespass. They're wanting to charge a mayor with trespass. It's just absurd. It's him saying the moment he was invited into Delaney Hall, nobody was kicking or shoving like the coverage suggests. We were invited in. That has not stopped right-wing media from trying to paint them as violent, wanting to have them arrested, including congresspeople. This was Fox News 2 days ago.
The Trump administration is warning there could be more
Lo-fi, silent, welcome in.
Democrats attempted to push through ICE agents and enter a New Jersey immigration detention center on Friday.
Trying to push their way in. You just saw the video of them being let in. Trying to push their way in. Fucking Fox News.
Get your officers. Get your hands off of her. No, He just assaulted me.
Worth mentioning, those lawmakers have oversight capacity. DHS had said, hey, we would have let them in with proper channels, but instead you saw that play out. Those Democrats, though, they're insisting they are the victims. They didn't do any pushing and shoving, they insist.
They didn't. Oh, that was the end of it. Thank you, McEnany. AOC took to Twitter. I got this from Libs of TikTok. A sitting member of Congress is openly threatening federal immigration officials.
Now, what DHS is trying to say, again, they're using public intimidation because they know that they cannot come for us all. They know that they cannot come for us all. And recently what they said is that DHS is allegedly looking into arresting members of Congress who were showing up for their legal and constitutional obligation to conduct oversight. If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress.
He is correct.
It's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on someone, on Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, on Representative, or any of the representatives that were there, you lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem. Because the people who are breaking the law are the people who are not abiding by it. And it is enshrined in the law that members of Congress who show up to ICE and CBP facilities are required to be granted access, legally required to be granted access. And they legally cannot be inhibited from accessing these facilities to conduct their constitutional obligation to investigate and conduct oversight. So if Kristi Noem wants to break the law, that's on her. But it sure as hell is not someone like Representative Robert Menendez that needs to be arrested, okay?
Well, I don't know. We've talked about Representative Bob Menendez. He might have some gold bars and might absolutely need to be arrested. I get really upset with people nominally on the left that want to try to bash people that are on our side. I don't understand what the AOC hate is about. Okay, she's fundraising. We live in a capitalist society. In order to do anything in politics, you got to raise funds, and she's good at it. So I don't get that critique. How are you going to overthrow capitalism without the capital? I don't get people who attack people who are nominally on our side. What good does it do us to try to go after Bernie or AOC? And like, because I see a lot of pages on Facebook and shit. There's like, oh, well, you can't support the Democratic Party. Like, what has it gotten us? And I'm like, well, what's your suggestion otherwise? They're like, well, the Democrats are blocking a true socialist movement. I'm like, there is no fucking socialist movement in this country. You're never going to get a socialist movement with or without Democrats. The Democrats aren't blocking a true socialist movement. We're fighting a propaganda war, and Capital has way more money than us. So even if all Bernie and AOC are paying lip service and maybe serving as a door to more radicalized politics, that's a good thing. And I can't get behind people attacking them. I don't get it. Because to me, if we want something that's more radical than AOC and Bernie, we must promote AOC and Bernie and move the Overton window so we can, if we get more AOCs and Bernies, then it becomes easier to get more radical politics behind them. It's not self-serving to go after the left, but there's money in it. And I understand that the Democrats are frustrating. Boy, do I get it. I don't think I cheerlead for them. I do kind of look back on the last election, and I don't want to say I cheerleaded for Kamala, but I held my fire. I took up for her an awful lot. I don't know how I feel about that looking back. I don't know that I regret it. I would still rather be in a position where I was advocating for the things I am for against a Democratic administration as opposed to whatever the fuck this is. Thistle Girl, you gonna call in? You gonna hop in the Discord? You gonna have a conversation with me? We would like to talk to you and pick your brain. You kind of just come in here and spurg out in the chat, though. It's wild. The problem was, okay, I understand. The problem with the Democrats isn't that, like, we voted for them. How do I explain this? I've seen the Democrats go far more left in my lifetime. We are, in a lot of ways as a party, way better than we were in the 90s. Dip. Welcome in, my friend. And we're going to get to this. We're going to cover the David Hogg here in a little bit. Why would we thank God for a pedophile, Thistle Girl? Why would we praise God for, like, do you realize how weird that is to me? Dems talking about, but the problem with the Dems doing that in the 80s and 90s that a lot of people don't realize is that the country went more conservative. The Dems were responding to what the mood in the country was. That was the tide. Everybody wanted to do coke. That's what Ronald Reagan trounced Jimmy Carter in 1980 in that election. And that scared the shit out of Democrats. And Flash, you're right. They were raised heavy on Red Scare propaganda. They were height of the Cold War. On top of that, there's also, that's where the phrase, you get more conservative as you get older comes from. It's that generation. They got more conservative as they got older because they kept getting richer. It's all the other generations after them that have gotten the shaft. So, like, you can't look at politics in a vacuum and just say Democrats bad. Like, we're once again, we're in a propaganda war with capitalists, and they've got way more money than us. Like, I can't stress to you guys how demoralizing it is for me to be doing this every fucking night, and just my social media is a deluge of misinformation and right-wing idiots doing exactly what I'm doing and getting thousands of views, thousands of likes and millions of views, doing a worse job at this and not being informative to their audience, and they're making bukus of money off of it. And, like, it's hard for me to just keep doing, because, like, there's no money on the left. People have criticized me for, like, in my own job, I take jobs for right-wing entities. There's no left-wing entities asking me to make videos. There's no left-wing entities there's no left-wing entities that have the money to do that. And that's why we're losing. That's why we're losing the culture war. So, I mean, fucking Hassan, AOC, I may have critiques of them, but my God, do I want them to be out here doing the things that they're doing. Because, like, we're losing bad in the propaganda war. Holy fuck. Okay, Dip. You may have not been here for this, but on this last Star Wars Day, I watched the last of the prequels. So I've now seen the first 6. And hey, listen. Palpatine made some good arguments. I was agreeing with him. The Jedis were up their own fucking asses. But it doesn't, my lord. It doesn't win. But the only thing is, you know, history doomed to repeat itself, yada, yada, yada. We might have to learn the lesson the hard way. I don't know what we do, but I feel like attacking AOC and Bernie ain't it, because at least they're out here doing something. Combo Weasel, welcome in, my friend. We got sidetracked, and thank you guys for getting me sidetracked. Great night to get sidetracked. I got so much fucking news. We've barely scratched the surface. Remember the judge that ICE arrested? She has now been indicted by a grand jury. Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan files motion to dismiss the federal charges in the immigration case. Her attorney claims she has judicial immunity from federal criminal charges, and prosecution against her violates Wisconsin's sovereignty. Ooh, what an argument to make. The Milwaukee judge indicted for allegedly helping a man evade immigration agents has filed a motion to dismiss her case. And basically, for those of you who aren't aware, judges are kind of like kings in their own courtrooms. So it is wild that she was arrested for this. She probably feels indignant about it. Attorneys for the judge argue Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan has judicial immunity for official acts. I mean, if Trump has immunity for official acts, they say her arrest and prosecution violate Wisconsin's sovereignty. Dugan's motion to dismiss was filed on Wednesday, less than 24 hours after a federal grand jury found probable cause to bring federal criminal charges against her. Dugan's lawyers called her arrest and indictment virtually unprecedented and entirely unconstitutional, arguing the federal prosecution violates the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. The problems with this prosecution are legion, but most immediately, the government cannot prosecute Judge Dugan because she is entitled to judicial immunity for her official acts. Immunity is not a defense to the prosecution to be determined later by a jury or court. It is an absolute bar to the prosecution at the outset. I'm glad they arrested a judge earlier on in this, because that's probably the best thing for us, because judges don't take too kindly on people trampling on their authority. And they're like, she's probably likely to receive sympathy from other judges in the case. So this is probably the Trump administration making a huge mistake arresting her. And from what we can tell, she seems very hard-nosed and not like some liberal pansy judge. So let's hope that backfires on them spectacularly. Apparently all hell broke loose today during a congressional hearing featuring Marjorie Taylor Greene. This was about the claims that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was some sort of human trafficker. We've already debunked that here on this show.
Gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize...
Mr. Chairman, sorry. I ask unanimous consent to enter for the record. One of our colleagues had asked if there was evidence if the so-called Maryland man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was MS-13. According to the Attorney General of the United States, she posted that the evidence shows Kilmar Abrego Garcia has repeatedly been identified as a member of MS-13 by a Maryland County Police Gang unit, which I introduced for the record, a reliable confidential informant, ICE officer, an immigration judge agreed, and an appellate board agreed.
Without
so you have is that a court order? Well, I object.
No, she can put anything she wants in the record. She's not complying to your request, Mr. Goldman.
She asked for unanimous consent.
Okay, so you're objecting to her putting that into the record?
I would like to read to you, this is the judge that ruled against the Trump administration. This is Judge Bozeman, I believe. The government presented no evidence to the district court to connect Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or any other criminal organization. Such a fact cannot be gleaned from this record. Tellingly, the government abandoned its position that Abrego Garcia was a danger to the community at the hearing before the district court. Down here, it cites the actual evidence that he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and hoodie, a vague, uncorroborated allegation from a confidential informant claiming he belonged to MS-13's Western Clique in New York, a place where he has never lived.
I am objecting subject to a clarification. Is that a court order that establishes that he's a member of MS-13?
An immigration judge agreed that he was MS-13.
No, they didn't.
An appellate board agreed.
Don't misrepresent.
Hold on.
A judge.
Everybody pause. We're going to let one person talk at a time. You ask a question. Answer the question, please.
According to the Attorney General of the United States, she informed the country.
Attorney General of the United States is a dumbass.
That your Maryland man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, is MS-13. An appellate board agreed. ICE officers
are misstating
agreed.
what
A reliable
Mr. Goldman,
informant.
the clock is not yours right now. She has the floor. Please continue answering the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A Maryland County.
She's not answering the question, sir.
No, she's going to answer.
No.
And then you can object to her answer.
Make sure that she answers the question?
Finish answer. You just said, please finish your answer.
I believe this is Representative Dan Goldman, who is she sparring with, the Democrat.
Maryland County Police Gang Unit agreed that he's MS-13. A reliable confidential informant agreed that he's MS-13. ICE officers agreed that he's MS-13. An immigration judge agreed that he's MS-13. And
This is Dan Goldman.
Agreed that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, your Maryland man, is MS-13.
Okay.
She's proud of herself. Look at her.
What do you want to say?
I object because she is misstating the record.
She is.
That is not accurate, and therefore I object to that being introduced. There's no.
Mr.
Sir,
Chairman?
can I explain? You let her go on.
Go ahead.
There is no final court order establishing that he's a member. Maybe he is. So you should put all that evidence before a judge, and if
She is not running for Senate, DJ Dub.
reported. That's what we're talking about. But you're misstating what all of that.
She actually ruled that out the other day. I would say polls are showing her losing, and she was dissuaded. Georgia Republicans actually lost out on their best hope, and that was Brian Kemp. I don't know if they have a Republican that could. I think it would be good for the Democrats if Green ran for Senate. I don't think she would win. I think it would probably animate Democrats, but we also live in the dumbest timeline. Minty, Sampson, good evening.
That evidence is.
No, I think I'm going to make a point here. You basically
Tadpole.
what the Attorney General said, correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't assert that this was a court order, did you? Did you assert that this was a court order?
I read the Attorney General of the United States.
And you have a right on our committee to submit for unanimous consent or a vote if we want to put it to a vote. This for the record, correct? Is that it?
Yes.
That is correct. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
she has a right.
Can I review what she is submitting?
No, she can submit something to this committee.
But it matters that she just said she represented exactly what the Attorney General said. She has a document there. I would like to see that document.
Let's make a copy for everybody.
I think she represented what the Attorney General said, but she didn't represent the facts.
And we'll vote on. I'm going to hold on just a second. We're going to hold. You're calling for the question? We're calling for the question. The clerk, we're going to need to.
It is very annoying.
A second. Brief recess.
Please, let's get
You think they would have limiters and shit on their fucking mics?
All right, there's
Mr. Higgins, I'm just asking
hold
to
on.
see the document.
I have the floor. All right, so we have a motion to vote on the submission of this for the record. That's all that has been stated. And
I have a parliamentary inquiry, sir.
Do not interrupt me again. We are on the vote on whether or not this can be entered into the record. And a motion has been made, and we will vote on that motion. All of those in favor.
I have a parliamentary inquiry before we vote, sir.
Mr. Ranking Member.
It's our request that we object. And in
Benny.
of the objection, you consider a motion, which
He was done talking about Ms.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. You stopped him from talking.
I just have a parliamentary inquiry.
A parliamentary inquiry. Okay, go ahead. You have the floor.
Yeah, why did he act like that was such a like that happens all the time? That's what it's called. Why did he seem like dumbfounded by the idea that he would have a parliamentary inquiry?
Before we vote, sir.
Mr. Ranking Member.
It's our request that we object. And in the middle of the objection, you consider a motion, which...
He was done talking about Ms.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. You stopped him from talking.
I just have a parliamentary inquiry.
A parliamentary inquiry. Okay, go ahead. You have the floor.
Is it the procedure of this committee that
like he'd never heard the phrase before?
Objection to the admission of evidence cannot review that evidence before we vote on it?
Yeah, the content is irrelevant to the motion, and the motion has been made to vote on the submission for the record.
The content is irrelevant? I mean, that's what I'm objecting to. If she is accurate in what her representation is, I will withdraw my objection. I just need to see the document.
Somebody walk the thing over there and let him read it. I mean, get to the bottom of this quickly. We'll hold on your vote, Mr. Ogles.
Andy Ogles of Tennessee, I guess, is the one that brought the vote. You see, Kristi Noem is sitting there. That's her. That's the back of her head. We're going to get to that.
Mr. Chairman, given that this is a tweet from the Attorney General that is effectively, I believe, consistent with what Ms. Taylor Greene says, I withdraw my objection.
Gentleman withdraws his objection. I now recognize, who's up? Mr. Jimenez for his.
I mean, do you want to correct the record, though? Shouldn't you submit the court document I just showed into the record?
I also want to thank you for approving.
The screenshot of a tweet, indeed. Shouldn't you have submitted the page? Hold on. I just had it pulled up. Oh, God, it doesn't have a page number on it because it's only half of it. It's only half of the page. But this document I just pulled up here, this is from the Bozeman's court ruling. You could have absolutely submitted this into the record after Greene submitted her tweet, you know? If the government wanted to prove to the district court that Abrego Garcia was a prominent member of MS-13, it has had ample opportunity to do so, but has not, nor has it even bothered to try. It's so simple. If I knew about that document's existence, they all have to know about it, right? I feel like Dan Goldman's probably a lawyer. That sounds like a lawyer's name. Is that anti-Semitic of me to say? He's a motherfucking lawyer. Oh my God, his name is Daniel Sachs Goldman. That explains it. Grew up in a conservative Jewish family. A lawyer, graduated from Yale. Feel like I would be a better congressperson than he would. As I said, that was Kristi Noem's head that you saw at the bottom of your screen. This is her and Eric Swalwell apparently getting into it. Fisticuffs flew.
This time has expired. I now recognize Mr. Swalwell for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. You have an important job. I think you have one of the most important jobs in the cabinet. Thank you for doing it. I want you to have credibility and be taken seriously as you do the job. So I want to put to rest
the dog killer
question about Mr. Garcia in this photo that the president posted on April 21. Madam Secretary, you agree that the letters MS and the number 13 in Times Roman numeral font, that they are doctored on this photo, right?
Congressman Abrego Garcia.
No, I'm just asking about this photo.
A known member.
It was based off an entire case.
And I'll accept that
case against him.
for the purpose of this question. You agree, though, that this is doctored, is that right?
The same protocols that are
Madam
applied
Secretary,
to every
I want you to have
individual with
credibility,
law enforcement.
and I want you to be taken seriously. Is this doctored or is it not
Sir,
doctored?
I am taken quite seriously
Is it
because I
doctored
approach
or
my
not
job
doctored?
with the importance that the president has given me to do
I
my
understand.
job.
Is it doctored or
One
not
thing
doctored?
that's important to remember is that every single time a case is built,
Madam
against
Secretary, I have a
individuals
7-year-old,
in
a
the same
6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. I have a bullshit detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not doctored?
Sir, the protocols in the case built against
Can you
Abrego
answer the
Garcia
question?
were exactly the same.
Madam Secretary,
I don't have
you're-
any knowledge as to that photo you're pointing to.
Okay, can you
I
take
don't,
her,
sir.
can you show her the photo? Walk her.
What? You don't have any knowledge of that photo? You're joking. You can't be fucking serious right now.
I have a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. I have a bullshit detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not doctored?
Sir, the protocols in the case built against
Can you
Abrego
answer the
Garcia
question?
were exactly the same.
Madam Secretary,
I don't have
you're-
any knowledge as to that photo you're pointing to.
Okay, can you
No
show her
way.
the photo? Walk her the photo.
Do you think we're stupid? You think we're fools?
Please take a look at this photo. It was tweeted by the president on April 21. It's been hanging out there for about a month.
So what is your point?
My question is,
He did a whole interview. Where Terry, I didn't know who you are. That's why I picked you. It's like 10 minutes of him going around in circles. Just like, because I want to say that John Oliver, like this past weekend, also covered it. I mean, it's like 10 minutes of him. No, it's on his knuckles. It's there. It's not photoshopped. You had to know about it. You had to know.
walk her the photo down there. No, that one. Please take a look at this photo. It was tweeted by the president on April 21. It's been hanging out there for about a month.
So what is your point?
My question is the numbers and the letter MS-13. Could you look at the photo, please? It's right in front of
Are
you.
you saying Abrego Garcia is not a wife
No,
beater?
no, ma'am.
That he's
What?
Ma'am.
He's not a human trafficker, and
Ma'am,
he's not a member of MS.
you vouched for Mr. Garcia when your team.
I'm saying you can't say that because there's not legal documents saying that he's never been convicted of any of those things. Not a single thing. And it is wrong for the U.S. government to get up and say baseless accusations that have not been proven in court. That is absolutely disgusting for the purpose of trampling on this man's rights. That is absolutely disgusting. You cannot say those things about him because he's never been convicted of those things.
Numbers and the letter MS-13. Could you look at the photo, please? It's right in front of
Are
you.
you saying Abrego Garcia is not a wife
No,
beater?
no, ma'am.
That he's not a
Yes.
criminal,
Ma'am.
he's
Yes.
not a trafficker, and
Ma'am.
he's not
Yes.
a member of MS.
You vouched for Mr. Garcia when
You're
your team
vouching for
said,
a man
ma'am, you
that is
vouched
a
for him when
known
you said he was
violent
mistakenly deported.
Sir.
I didn't vouch for him.
I did not say
In
that.
that
He
photo.
should have been deported. Absolutely.
It's so
There was
telling
never a
that you
mistake
won't look
to
at the
deport him,
photo.
and we will not be bringing
Was
him back
it
to
doctored or not?
If, in staying here, if
Can
he
you
comes
look to
back
your
the
right
country, he
at
would
the
be
photo in
in
front
right
of you?
away.
Madam Secretary, can you look to the right at the photo in front of you?
I have seen this
Okay.
photo as you held it behind your head.
Thank you. And the letters MS and the numbers 13, are those
Is
doctored
this your
or
entire
not?
testimony today is on a doctored photo? You don't want to talk about the facts?
Okay,
The
so
importance of
You don't want to talk about the facts.
You acknowledge it was
do
doctored.
to make sure that the United States is protected.
Madam
and
Secretary,
from
this is not a
violent
hard question.
criminals?
Are those doctored or not?
Sir,
Is that actually on his hand or not?
This is unbelievable to me that you're focused.
It's unbelievable to me that you can't look at the photo and tell the
I
American
looked at
people.
the photo, but I don't have any knowledge as to this photo.
Okay, so it's been hanging out there for 4 weeks. You are one of the chief law enforcement officials in the country. What have you done to investigate whether the president misrepresented the reason that that person has been detained?
Sir,
have
we
you
spend our
done
time-
anything to try and figure out whether that was doctored or not?
The mission of the Department of Homeland Security is to secure our nation and to make sure that we're out there going after those that are the worst of the worst, the criminals, the bad actors.
You're not.
So the answer is you've done nothing to
Terrorist,
correct the
member
president.
of MS-13, a wife
Okay.
beater and a human
Okay.
trafficker that should never have been in this country to begin with.
So, Madam Secretary.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. 2 weeks ago, your agency deported a 4-year-old American citizen in a stage 4 cancer battle. What are you doing to get him back to the country?
Nothing. They're not doing anything.
Congressman, this mother wished to keep her family together and to take her child with her. So as every single person is given the opportunity to, medical care is given throughout the process.
Okay. So it sounds like
and
nothing.
For this child, medical care was confirmed in their home country so that it would continue, and those treatments and whatever needs were needed to be had into the future were confirmed to be provided there before.
That child's home country is the United States. Do you believe you have the right to deport a U.S. citizen?
That mother chose to keep her family together, and that is what President Trump is
that's-
focused on.
They didn't keep the family together.
Yes, it is the facts.
Madam
No, it's
Secretary,
not.
moving on,
Confirmed that she wanted to
do
keep
you
her
have a
child
right-
with her, and our families and parents are given that ability to keep their children with them when they return to their home countries.
Madam Secretary, do you have a right to deport a U.S. citizen?
No, we do not deport U.S. citizens and have not deported U.S.
Yes,
citizens.
you have.
Except the 4-year-old that we just
No, that
There was 3 of them. It wasn't just a 4-year-old.
and that is her prerogative, and the law was followed in allowing her the opportunity to do that.
So, Madam Secretary, I'm a former prosecutor. I have put people away for life sentences who are gang members. I don't need to wear costumes to show how tough I am. What makes me different from you is when I put those individuals away, I did it with the weight of the law behind me. And I yield back.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields.
I ask
She is disgusting.
to enter an article from Fox 45 that states documents reveal a second protective order filed by the White
MTG, just the whole hearing. Let me file this. Let me file that. All this hearsay from Fox. The Trump administration promising it is focusing on the worst of the worst. You heard it. They're taking violent gang members out of the country. Except Mexican security chief confirms a cartel family members entered the U.S. in a deal with the Trump administration. Mexico's security chief confirmed on Tuesday that 17 family members of cartel leaders crossed into the U.S. last week as part of a deal between a son of the former head of the Sinaloa cartel and the Trump administration. Mexican Security Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch confirmed a report by independent journalist Luis Chaparro that family members of Ovidio Guzman Lopez, who was extradited to the United States in 2023, had entered the United States. Guzman Lopez is one of the brothers left running a faction of the Sinaloa cartel after notorious capo Joaquim El Chapo Guzman was imprisoned in the U.S. Video showed the family members walking across the border from Tijuana with their suitcases to waiting U.S. agents. Rumors had circulated last week that the younger Guzman would plead guilty to avoid trial for several drug trafficking charges in the U.S. after being extradited in 2023. Garcia Harfuch confirmed the family members crossing in a radio interview and said it was clear to Mexican authorities that they were doing so after negotiations between Guzman Lopez and the U.S. government. He believed that that was the case because the former cartel boss, whose lawyer said in January he had entered negotiations with U.S. authorities, had been pointing fingers at members of other criminal organizations, likely as part of a cooperation agreement. Family out because he's cooperating. It is evident that his family is going to the U.S. because a negotiation or an offer that the Department of Justice is giving him. He said that none of the family members were being pursued by Mexican authorities, that the government of U.S. President Donald Trump has to share information with Mexican prosecutors, something it has not yet done. The confirmation by Garcia Harfuch comes the same day that U.S. Attorney General's office announced it was charging a number of top cartel leaders with narco-terrorism for the first time since Trump administration declared a number of cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. They probably got the gold green card, yes. Now a message to the American people from the National Security Advisor. Here is Miss Tulsi Gabbard.
For Americans and those who cherish and celebrate freedom around the world, privacy is essential to individual liberty. It's why America's founders enshrined this God-given right in the Constitution nearly 250 years ago. They understood that a government with unchecked power to control what we say, control what we do, and to search and surveil its citizens.
Wow.
The free. Our commitment to protecting people from unwarranted search and surveillance by the government reflects a deep belief that a country that does not truly respect privacy is a country that does not respect its people and truly is not free. Now, as Director of National Intelligence, it's my duty and responsibility to support our president's mission, is to ensure the safety and security of freedom of the American people by providing him with the best, most relevant, accurate intelligence possible. It is also...
Did you know that the U.S. government is trampling on the rights of citizens and permanent residents and people here legally by deporting them for their speech? Tulsi, let him know, please. Fire resist. Good evening.
My duty to ensure that American civil liberties are free from government overreach and abuse of power. Now, for far too long, unfortunately, we've heard over and over again that we must sacrifice liberty sometimes in the name of more security. We also know through experience that once we...
Isn't that the exact argument that Trump is making about these deportations? We can skip due process in the name of security.
Sacrifice liberty. Once we give up some of our freedoms to the government, it's extremely difficult and therefore very, very rare that we ever see those freedoms restored. As a result, we've seen the national security state grow stronger and stronger. Their capabilities to conduct mass surveillance and warrantless searches of our own people continue. And the result has been a withering away of public trust.
Agreed.
The ability to effectively carry out our nation's
Do you know who you work for?
Mission. I'm committed to rebuilding this trust. Transparency is the foundation of trust, and our focus on this will only strengthen our goal to ensure the safety, security, and freedom of the people that we serve. Now, balancing the imperatives of national security with our mandate to protect individual freedom and for our country, our constitutional rights, requires constant vigilance.
Yeah, against people like you. Yeah, dismantle the NSA. You could do that, Tulsi. I mean, she did fire some people, but not for the reason that you would have hoped. Apparently, they told the truth to Donald Trump, and telling the truth can get you fired.
Hi there, everybody. It's 4 o'clock in New York. In the second Trump administration, telling the truth can get you fired. Brand new reporting from the Washington Post.
I just said that, Nicole.
Reveals that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has fired the #1 and #2 officials at the National Intelligence Council, weeks after the council published an assessment that all but demolished Team Trump's legal rationale for mass deportations. From that report, quote, Gabbard removed Michael Collins, the acting chair of the National Intelligence Council, as well as his deputy, Maria Langdon-Rykoff. That's according to a spokesperson for Gabbard's office. The firings took place 1 week after the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a partially declassified intelligence assessment dated April 7th and produced by the National Intelligence Council. That assessment found that the Venezuelan government is most likely not directing the activities of the gang known as Tren de Aragua or facilitating its operations in the U.S. A reminder, this assessment said this, quote, while Venezuela's permissive environment enables TDA, Tren de Aragua, to operate, the Maduro regime probably does not have a policy of cooperating with TDA and is not directing TDA movement to and operations in the U.S. Statements like that are very inconvenient for the Trump administration. In invoking the Alien Enemies Act on March 15th, the Trump administration said in an executive order this, quote, TDA is undertaking hostile actions and conducting irregular warfare against the territory of the U.S., both directly and at the direction clandestine or otherwise, of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. That was the entire justification for using the Alien Enemies Act in the first place. The Alien Enemies Act was used only 3 times in American history, and the Trump administration is using it to deport migrants without any semblance of due process being given to them and then sending them to a notorious prison in El Salvador. With their justification for using the AEA, Alien Enemies Act, blown to smithereens by their own government, the Trump administration, instead of backing down on the deportations, has instead started a crackdown on the fact finders and the truth tellers in their own intelligence community.
Because, you know, you got to stand up for liberty or whatever the fuck Tulsi just said.
Reporting on an initial assessment back in February, quote, the Justice Department opened a criminal investigation and portrayed the reporting as misleading and harmful. The administration doubled down a month later after similar coverage in the Washington Post, citing the disclosures in both articles as a reason to relax limits on leak investigations. Now, the firing of the #1 and #2 officials at the National Intelligence Council sends an unmistakable message. The ranking member of the House Intel Committee, Congressman Jim Himes, tells the Washington Post this, quote, absent evidence to justify the firings, the workforce can only conclude that their jobs are contingent on producing analysis that is aligned with the president's agenda, rather than truthful and apolitical, end quote. It's where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Washington Post National...
Oh, no, that sounds horrible. I appreciate your reporting, Nicole. That's all we needed from you. We do not need the talking head panels. We're going to go back to Congress. We're going to talk about the Republican spending bill. Remember, they had a 20-hour session last night. This was AOC apparently getting sassy with some dumb shits.
Okay, what about miscarriage?
Thank you.
What about miscarriage?
I'm reclaiming my time. Thank you. I just want to make the point that we'd like for you to address the Republicans and let's have a dialogue this way and not to a camera. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
But
the gentleman yields back.
But I'm asking the question. What about a miscarriage?
The gentleman yields back.
I'm trying to engage in the way that the gentleman.
The lady is out of order. The gentleman yields back.
Oh, so we don't want to answer for women having miscarriages and bleeding out in parking lots.
Looks to be recognized.
Speaking of where we are addressing and who we are addressing, there are 13.7 million Americans on the other side of that screen right there. Hello? Hello. I'm talking to you because I work for you. And
I don't know that 13 million people are watching this.
See what is happening here. Because there are plenty of districts, including Republican ones, where 25% of your constituents are on Medicaid, 40% of your constituents are on Medicaid. And yes, I am
Will the gentlelady yield?
I am talking to them, and I will not yield because it was a terribly disrespectful comment, and I will not yield to disrespectful men. Thank you very much.
You yield back?
We'll yield back to the gentlelady.
Strong women really intimidate dipshit men, and I'm all for it. But as I said, that was a 20-hour session. And multiple pictures of representatives falling asleep have went viral. Representatives Blake Moore, Debbie Dingell, Jan Schakowsky doze off during grueling overnight committee work. At least 3 House lawmakers were caught snoozing in the middle of a marathon committee work that bled into Wednesday morning to stitch together President Trump's big, beautiful agenda bill. Footage of Reps Blake Moore, Debbie Dingell, and Jan Schakowsky conked out after burning the midnight oil quickly took the internet by storm. During the wee morning hours just shy of 5 a.m., Moore, 44, the vice chair of the House Republican Conference, was seen slumbering during a House Ways and Means Committee markup of the tax component. Now, I've seen a lot of right-wingers share out the video of Dingell, not mentioning that, others fell asleep as well, and that it happened overnight. Vice Chair of the House Republican Conference was seen slumbering during a House Ways and Means Committee markup of the tax component. Moore was captured by C-SPAN cameras, slouched back in his chair with his head sunk into his shoulders. There you see Moore, very much asleep. This is Debbie Dingle. I don't see any coffee. Why are you not drinking coffee? Been up for 31 hours straight fighting Republicans trying to gut Medicaid. That's what Dingle said about the video apparently circulating.
And we can't forget to go back to work. Another source of healthcare television.
I mean, people fall asleep watching this shit. The committee spent well over 24 hours deliberating, was still going as of 2:30 p.m. Eastern. It has wrapped, I'm pretty sure. Also on the Energy and Commerce Committee, Sherkowski 80 was spotted nodding off. There's Jan Sherkowski. I know the right-wingers having a field day with this. Trump fell asleep at his trial. Trump fell asleep at the Pope's funeral. And still got up on stage and called Joe Biden Sleepy Joe. Debbie Dingle is not woke, conservative outlet Town Hall tweeted out. That's kind of funny. Debbie Dingle is not woke. Trending Politics co-owner Colin Rugg cut together a montage of the sleepy reps to the tune of Brahms' Lullaby. But, oh, notice it was only Dingle and Sherkowski.
Mr. Moore.
Oh, no, there's more. Am I going to get copyright on this? Or is this public domain? There he is being woke up.
No. Mr. Moore.
I mean, I feel sorry for them. They went overnight. I have a hard time going, pulling all-nighter anymore. I mean, you're mocking them, and yeah, it's fun to mock them, but it was a 24-hour session. The close-up of Dingle there at the end was great. The bill they were marking up was the Republican spending bill, which, apparently not very popular at all. And if we're talking about popularity, let's go to CNN. This is Harry Enton, who is always fun to watch. That's the whole reason I did this. So we go to Harry Enton and hear from him.
Key House committees worked through the night, we're told, to advance President Trump's, what he calls his big, beautiful bill. The tax writing committee working, we're now told, almost 18 hours to finish their portion of it and to pay for the president's desired cuts. It's called a pay for. House Republicans are pushing forward with big spending cuts proposed to Medicaid. And because of those proposed cuts, which could leave millions without
we want to take health insurance away from poor people. Yay!
Among Republicans in the Senate, revealing the touchy politics of Medicaid. CNN's Harry Enton is looking into that for you this morning. And Harry, what do Americans think of these proposed potential cuts to Medicaid we're looking at here?
The politics of this are so bad, it literally blows my mind. That is what the American people think of this. Major spending cuts to Medicaid. Look at this, 76.
DJ Dub, funny you should bring him up because he's on the list for tonight. You're going to hear from him just in a few minutes.
6% opposed. Just 24% favor major federal spending cuts to Medicaid. To give you an idea of how big this 76% is, in a separate poll I looked at it, George Washington's favorable rating is 78%. Basically, the exact same percentage of Americans who are opposed to major cuts to Medicaid on the federal level. As I said, the politics of this are so extremely bad, it blows my mind, Kate.
That is overall. What about amongst Republicans? Because Republicans are obviously the party in the majority and advancing this need to cut some $880 million from Medicaid.
Okay, so we see this 76% overall. You see it over here. Oppose major spending cuts to Medicaid on the federal level. You get 95% of Democrats opposed, 79% of independents, and you even get a majority of Republicans, 55% oppose major spending cuts to Medicaid. This simply
So who exactly are the Republicans working for?
The aisle, from the left all the way to the right, the opposition is in the majority. When you get a majority of Republicans, a majority of independents, a majority of Democrats to
I worry, Lenny, about a midterms that are free, fair, and open. I don't know that they don't play the martial law card before then.
agree on anything, you know that is where the American public stands, and they stand strongly. And on this particular issue, they stand very strongly opposing major spending cuts to Medicaid. The politics of this, simply put, are atrocious.
Which also explains why, for everyone out there, why reforms to the entitlement programs, why it doesn't happen, because the politics are so tough. And that's why Republicans are calling it, we're reforming the system, we're not cutting the system. Look, the details aren't yet hashed out of exactly what it's going to look like, but the politics...
Gotta use some of that Orwellian language.
Is there data about why Americans feel this way?
Yeah, I think
what drives it?
Exactly right. Do you know somebody, or you...
Is there data about why Americans are against taking health insurance away from poor people?
Ever been on Medicaid or on it currently? And this, I think, basically says it all. Has been or is on Medicaid, me or someone else close to me. Look at this. 62% of Democrats, 62% of Republicans. Medicaid is something that touches people from across the political spectrum, from the left to the right. They're equally felt. A majority of Americans are likely to know somebody who is on Medicaid currently or was on it formerly, either themselves or someone close to them, maybe a close family friend, maybe someone who's a member of their family. And this, I think, drives it all home, which is why cuts to Medicaid are so unpopular. It is because it touches everybody. And when all of a sudden you take the health insurance away potentially from somebody you know, you're going to be opposed to it. And that is why 76% of Americans are opposed to major cuts to Medicaid, Kate.
All right. Thank you, Harry. This is a good basis for what is going to be a long discussion.
Thank you, Harry. The Republicans, though, were able to advance their bill out of committee. And it does indeed contain huge cuts to Medicaid.
A big talking point today on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers on both sides pushing back on the latest House spending bill.
Local 10's D.C. reporter Ross Ketchke is live in Washington to explain. Ross.
Yeah, that Republican-backed spending bill here in Washington, D.C., clearing another important committee vote earlier today. There's a lot in there, including extending the tax cuts from President Donald Trump's first term. But pretty much every Democrat here in Washington, and now even some Republicans, are beginning to push back on those proposed cuts to Medicaid.
It is wrong to cut health care for the working poor, and that's what we're talking about here with Medicaid.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley crossing party lines to criticize key measures in the House spending bill. The budget calls for sizable reductions in Medicaid, a program that provides health insurance for low-income Americans, including more than 5 million people in Florida. South Florida Democratic Congresswoman Frederica Wilson writing online, "This cannot stand, and we must protect Medicaid."
It's going to hurt people. That's pretty clear.
A report from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill would cut spending by more than $700 billion over the next decade, but would cause around 8.6 million Americans to lose their coverage. Meanwhile, Republican supporters of the bill are pushing back.
House Democrats are working overtime to deceive the American people.
They're accusing Democrats of misrepresenting the spending bill, saying it saves taxpayers by closing those loopholes used to exploit the program.
We are prepared to stop the billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse in the Medicaid program.
And the next step for this bill comes on Friday. House lawmakers will be meeting to vote on every single piece and put it together into that one package to hopefully send it to the Senate, where they'll get their turn with it next. And keep in mind here, with Speaker Mike Johnson already getting some pushback from his own party, he can't afford to lose many votes here. Live in Washington, D.C., Ross Ketchke, Local 10 News.
That spending bill making political waves. Ross, thanks a lot.
They were backing that bill up as the reporter was signing off. The bill is going to make its way to the Senate. Senators grilling one Mr. RFK Jr. earlier today during a Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee hearing. Here is insane in the Kaine brain. I fucked that one up. I'm sorry. Senator Tim Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. I want to ask you some questions about staff reduction and kind of the timing of it. You were confirmed by the Senate on February 13th, so I'm sort of assuming that things happened before you were confirmed were other people's work. On January 28th, the Fork in the Road letter came out to people across the federal employment space, widely attributed to OPM and Elon Musk and Doge. But that was before you were confirmed, so you had nothing to do with it.
You down with OPM?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, you know him.
You were confirmed on February 13. On February 14, one day later, HHS announced that 3,500 probationary employees were going to be laid off. I know you're a hard worker, but am I right to assume that in the one day between your confirmation and the next day, you weren't the primary decision maker about laying off probationary employees at HHS?
I was aware of it, and I could have blocked it.
Yeah, you were aware of it, so you weren't the decision maker. Was that a decision that was made like OPM or Doge? And because it wasn't just HHS, it was all federal agencies who would lay off probationary. Do you know where that
I had my full upper staff in place before I got there.
Right, but did they make the decision, or was it White House and Doge to lay off probationary employees?
They made the decision. My staff made the decision, although Doge came in and Doge gave us information that we wouldn't otherwise have had access.
Okay. Next, we go to April 1st.
I can also say this.
No, all I asked was if you made it, and you answered the question, and I appreciate it. April 1, HHS RIFs 10,000 employees effective June 2. Now, by this point, you had been secretary for about 6 weeks. A few days after that announcement, HHS staff briefed our staff, the Senate help staff, and basically, just here's some highlights. In that 10,000 RIFs, 467 staff at the Administration for Children and Families, 2,473 at the Centers for Disease Control, 322 at CMS, 400 at HRSA, 1,312 at National Institutes of Health, 197 at SAMHSA, 2,519 at the Food and Drug Administration. By now, you've been secretary for 6 weeks, so this was RIFs, not the forks, but you were involved in the decision about these 10,000 RIFs, correct?
Yes.
And in tandem with your leadership team, correct?
Yes. And as I said before, I pushed back on certain ones and canceled certain ones.
Yeah. I think yesterday, it may have been earlier today, you confirmed that 20,000 employees have been let go, 10,000 at HHS, 10,000 RIFed and 10,000 forked. Do you
Rift
know
and
how
forked.
many of the 20,000 were veterans?
No, I do not.
That is a fact.
How condoms
Very
come,
easy to
rift and
determine
forked.
Someone's personnel file. So I'm going to ask that question
For her pleasure.
record. We are finding across the government that veterans are disproportionately being let go, A, because they're a higher percentage of the federal workforce.
Making some
B,
tortured jokes
dramatically
tonight.
higher percentage of probationary employees because they leave military service after 10 or 25 years, and then they're probationary new employees when they join the civilian service. So I want to find the answer to that question. Where does the rubber meet the road on 20,000 RIFs and layoffs and forks? In people not getting cancer trials, and I appreciate your willingness to help Senator Murray's constituent, in state grants being canceled, in Virginia losing $425 million in funding to the Virginia Department of Health. But here's a small example. All of our offices do casework. All of them do casework. And we get requests from constituents all the time. CMS is the largest agency in the federal government. Its budget is nearly twice the size of the Pentagon. And people who depend on Medicaid, Medicare, and the SCHIP program really, really depend on it.
Yes.
It's the most consistent in the top 3 or 4 in terms of constituent requests to my office. Answer this question about Medicare or Medicaid or the S-chip program. In every administration I've served with, Obama, Trump 1, Biden, I get answers to questions on behalf of constituents. I may not get them as fast as I like, and sometimes I like the answer and sometimes I don't. But let me show you what CMS is now doing to answer constituent questions. I've omitted the name of the constituent, and I've omitted the name of my staffer. This was very recent. A hardworking retiree, patriotic tax-paying American who's on Medicare wrote to ask CMS a very simple question about Medicare. Couldn't get an answer. Asked us to reach out. We reached out to the Medicare Part C and D Congressional Liaison Office. And here was their answer to our basic question. Unfortunately, there is not an update to provide. With the recent change of administration, we are unable to provide any information related on matters related to Mr. X's request, Congressional Casework Team. I mean, if you're just an everyday, hardworking American retiree on Medicare, and you have a basic question about it, you ought to be able to get an answer. And I'm just going to say, I've shared this with my colleagues, and many of us are having the same experience where our constituents can't get a basic question answered. I wonder if 20,000 fewer employees is connected to this. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Somebody clean out their grinder? That's what that sounded like. That's what it sounds like when I'm cleaning out my grinder.
The same experience where our constituents can't get a basic question answered. I wonder if 20,000 fewer employees is connected to this. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
It's a grinder. That's what was in the background. Somebody was grinding one up. Or okay, I would respect him a lot more if he was over there at the table grinding up a fucking joint, rolling it. Well, I don't think he's into that though. I think he's more into like the heroin. But you know what? You shouldn't take advice from RFK Jr.
The Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. testified on Capitol Hill today, defending the cut of thousands of jobs from the department's workforce. He laid out his priorities for the Trump administration's proposed budget while fielding questions about his history of controversial comments on vaccine efficacy and other health issues. But he seemed to take a different approach today when pressed by Democratic Congressman Mark Pocan. Take a listen.
If you had a child today, would you vaccinate that child for measles?
For measles, probably for measles. What I would say is my opinions about vaccines are irrelevant. I don't want to seem like I'm being evasive.
Yeah.
But I don't think people should be taking medical advice from me.
Agreed.
Kennedy also defended his agency's response to the measles outbreaks, claiming cuts to the HHS were necessary to
RB, welcome in.
Spending. Democrats pushing back on that, claiming people will die as a result.
I think that not only should you not take medical advice from RFK Jr., you should probably not take swimming advice as to where you take your kids. This is insane.
Of a top President Trump cabinet member sparking a lot of controversy. Robert Kennedy Jr. with his grandchildren swimming in a creek.
Not high enough for this.
Yeah, the problem, the Park Service says it's dangerous and illegal. DC News Now's Daniel Hamburg has a reaction from people in the park and also advice from experts.
Dumbarton Oaks Park is serene, a great place to relax for some and exercise for others.
I like to walk my dog here. And I like the environment here, but I never would go into the Rock Creek to swim.
That's because
feel like we know how he got the brain worm, right?
As it's been illegal since 1971.
The reason it's illegal is because of the E. coli issues from their combined sewer systems, and that's why they banned swimming in the D.C. area.
But on Sunday, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. posted these photos of he and his grandchildren in Rock Creek. One shows his granddaughter splashing water at him, and another with RFK Jr. fully underwater.
at his own risk, and it is illegal, so it's insane that he's doing this.
While swimming or wading in D.C. waterways is still illegal, there are people keeping track of the water quality. You can visit this app called Swim Guide, updated weekly by the Potomac Riverkeeper Network.
Just wish the secretary had gone to that app and found out the conditions, but Rock Creek in general, over the past 5 years, has consistently failed to meet water quality standards for safe human contact.
Maybe he did go. He's like, yeah, fuck this app.
Bacteria in the water is particularly bad after it rains, as it did on Thursday.
Bacteria levels, I mean, can cause all sorts of problems, for, public health, and particularly the kids, being in the water.
Many locals say they don't want to deal with the health consequences.
There are signs all over the place saying sewer runoff, don't get in. It's very clear. It looks very appetizing to swim in, but,
Does it?
There are dangers in there.
In Northwest, Daniel Hamburg, DC News Now.
Just the head of Health and Human Services. Oh, we ain't done with this testimony. We ain't done yet. This is Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut, facing off with RFK Jr.
Madam Chair, Secretary Kennedy, I want to talk to you about your relationship with this committee and this Congress. I want to talk to you about the statements that you made to the chairman of this committee and to members of this committee during your confirmation hearing about vaccines. You didn't tell the truth.
I would think so, Michael.
To be really dangerous for our relationship.
Welcome in.
If I were the chairman who believes in vaccines and voted for you because he believed what you said about supporting vaccines, my head would be exploding.
Up yours.
In the hearing, you told us, quote, I will not work to impound, divert, or otherwise reduce any funding appropriated by Congress for the purpose of vaccination programs. That's not the truth. You've done exactly. Let me finish my question.
Yeah, I didn't hear what
Let me finish.
I was asking you to repeat it so I can understand your question.
During the hearing,
Ritter, welcome in.
During the hearing, you said to this committee and to the Finance Committee, I will not work to impound, divert, or otherwise reduce funding appropriated by Congress for the purpose of vaccination programs. That is not what happened. You've done the opposite. You canceled $12 billion in grants to the states, including my state, that are used to administer and track vaccines. You promised Chairman Cassidy.
I wonder what he smells like at this hearing.
Madam Chair, would you allow me to finish my question?
Keep going with your question. When did I do that?
Let me finish my question.
Accusation. Just tell me when I did it so I can understand what the question is.
You have canceled $12 billion in public health grants to states, whether you know this or not. That funding is used by the states in part to be able to administer and dispense information about vaccines. Mr. Secretary, let me give you the full panoply of
accusations.
The full panoply
for this committee that didn't turn out to be true. You also promised Chairman Cassidy that the FDA would not change vaccine standards from, quote, historical norms. But what happened as soon as you were sworn in? You announced new standards for vaccine approvals that you proudly referred to in your own press release as a radical departure from current practice. And experts say that that departure will delay approvals. You also said, specific to the measles vaccine, that you support the measles vaccine. But you have consistently been undermining the measles vaccine. You told the public that the vaccine wanes very quickly. You went on the Dr. Phil show and said that the measles vaccine was never fully tested for safety. You said
Dr. Phil.
Debris in the measles vaccine, and this morning,
all true.
This morning, in
Do
front
you want me to lie to the public?
That's not. None of that is.
Of course, it's true. Of course, it's true, Senator. You're Senator begging your product. You do not know what you're talking about.
For the record.
Let's have a little bit of order so that you can get
Madam
your
Chair,
question
I'm
and we can get
I didn't
this
ask. I didn't ask for a response yet.
I understand
I'd like
that.
to lay out the predicate of my question before I'm interrupted by the witness. He should
Go
have some
ahead.
respect for this committee.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Just this morning in front of the House of Representatives, you also said that you, in fact, would not recommend that kids get vaccinated for measles. You said you would just lay out the pros and cons. Okay, so this is the summation of everything that you have said to compromise people's faith in the measles vaccine in particular is contrary to what you said before this committee. You said you support the measles vaccine, But then you have laid out a set of facts that are contested, and I will submit information for the record from experts who contest what you've said about the vaccine. And the result is to undermine faith in the vaccine. It's kind of like saying, listen, I think you should swim in that lake, but the lake is probably toxic, and there's probably a ton of snakes and alligators in that lake, but I think you should swim in it. Nobody's going to swim in that lake if that's what you say. And so I want you to acknowledge that when you say
he swam in it,
vaccine, and then go out and repeatedly undermine the vaccine with information that is contested by public health experts, that is not supporting the vaccine. And so I guess I have two simple questions for you. One is, can you clarify what you said in the House this morning? Are you or are you not recommending that families get their children vaccinated, or are you just giving people the pros and cons? And do you understand that when you say these things about the measles vaccine, what ends up happening is less people get the vaccine? That may be what you want, but do you understand that the result of constantly questioning the efficacy or safety of the vaccine results in less people getting the vaccine?
Vaccine
I
hesitancy.
don't necessarily want to spend the remaining 20 seconds in an argument over the science, but do you at least understand that that's the consequence of what you're saying? And are you actually still recommending people get the vaccine, or are you not?
Senator, if I advised you to swim in a lake that I knew there to be alligators in, wouldn't you want me to tell you there were alligators in it?
So are you recommending?
Did you have the River app?
What I've said and what I said,
It doesn't sound like you are. If that's,
are you going to let me answer? Are you going to keep interrupting?
Are you or are you not?
Are you going to let me answer? What I pledged before this committee during my confirmation is that I would tell the truth, that I would have radical transparency. I'm going to tell the truth about everything we know and we don't know about vaccines.
Are you recommending the measles vaccine or
I
not?
am not going to just tell people everything is safe and effective if I know that there's issues. I need to respect people's intelligence.
What issues?
I think you're
And the
answering
reason
that's
that
really
people-
dangerous for the American public and for families.
The reason people have lost faith in this program is because they've been lied to by public officials for
Secretary of
year
Health and
after
Human
year
Services
after year.
no longer recommending the measles vaccine.
Senator Marshall.
Wow, what a hearing. Did Murphy know he swam in sewage before this? The sewage thing was Tuesday? Or was it over the weekend? I feel like I would have talked about it on Sunday or Monday if it was over the weekend. During the day on Monday or something, he went out and swam in raw sewage. I bet he smelled during that hearing. I've been swimming in raw sewage. The back and forth with the senators weren't the only thing exciting about the hearing. Protest erupted. Ben of Ben and Jerry's got arrested.
The budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects.
The witness will suspend. The committee will come to order. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room. Members of the audience.
Some things at HHS will not change. We will preserve legacy programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Head Start as the foundation of the MAHA agenda. Vulnerable populations, seniors, and veterans deserve consistent access to care, and I will ensure that they receive it.
Mr. Secretary, did I hear you correctly to state that your goal is to have Americans pay the lowest prices in the world, or equivalent to what is paid in other major countries? That is my goal. That you are prepared to work with us on legislation to achieve that goal?
Absolutely.
All right. And I believe there's bipartisan support for it. I believe that if the leadership...
Bobby coming out for Medicare for All?
We can do that in a very short period of time.
Mr. Secretary, one of my constituents, her name's Natalie Phelps. She's a mom of two.
Shelley, welcome in.
Island in Washington State. She has been fighting aggressive stage 4 colorectal cancer for nearly 5 years now. Her best hope now is a clinical trial she's participating in at the NIH Clinical Center.
Has she tried swimming in raw sewage?
A few weeks ago for her first appointment, and her care team there wanted her to come back in 4 weeks to start treatment. But because of the thoughtless mass firing of thousands of critical employees across NIH and HHS that you carried out, Natalie's doctors at that clinical center have told her they have no choice but to delay her treatment by an additional 4 weeks.
I provided the guidelines that said that no clinical trials should be affected by the cuts. I have, Matt Mamoli.
Mr. Secretary, I just have a short amount of time. They are impacting clinical trials.
You asked me a question. Do you want me to answer it?
I want to tell you, you need to know this. You're here to defend the NIH.
You can't just talk out your ass and say, well, we didn't want to affect clinical trials, and then cut so many staff that it has to affect clinical trials. Where else are they going to cut staff from?
Budget, which
Senator, do you want me to answer your question?
Well, I want
You want me to answer your question,
to
Senator?
tell you that Natalie is sitting there waiting for treatment.
And I'm
You're
offering to
here
help her, but you don't care.
Mr.
You
Secretary,
don't care about Natalie.
And so
what?
I need to acknowledge that when you say you support the measles vaccine and then go out and repeatedly undermine the vaccine with information that is contested by public health experts, that is not supporting the vaccine. And so I guess I have two simple questions for you.
Yes, that's the question, Flash. What steps did you undertake to prevent your cuts from affecting the trials?
Recommending that families get their children vaccinated, or are you just giving people the pros and cons? And do you understand that when you say these things about the measles vaccine, what ends up happening is less people get the vaccine? That may be what you want, but do you?
Oh, that is exactly what he wants.
Of constantly questioning the efficacy or safety of the vaccine results in less people getting the vaccine. So I don't necessarily want to spend the remaining 20 seconds in an argument over the science, but do you at least understand that that's the consequence of what you're saying? And are you actually still recommending people get the vaccine, or are you not?
Senator, if I advised you to swim in a lake that I knew there to be alligators in, wouldn't you want me to tell you there were alligators in it?
So are you recommending the measles vaccine?
Did anyone tell you there was sewage in the lake?
And what I said...
It doesn't sound like you are, if that's...
Are you going to let me answer? Are you going to keep interrupting?
Are you or are you not?
Are you going to let me answer? What I pledged before this committee during my confirmation is that I would tell the truth, that I would have radical transparency. I'm going to tell the truth about everything we know. And
the sweet tea looks good.
Recommending the measles vaccine or
I
not?
am not going to just tell people everything is safe and effective if I know that there's issues. I need to respect people's intelligence.
I think you're answering the question. I think you're
And
answering
the reason
the question. That's
that people,
really dangerous for the American public and for families.
The reason people
I'm a Southerner. I called it sweet tea. I don't know that it's a sweet tea.
Public officials for
Secretary
year
of
after
Health
year after
is no
year.
longer recommending the measles vaccine.
Senator Marshall.
My question to you is this.
Probably some weird fucking drink that tastes like shit.
A top to bottom review of mifepristone. Mifepristone is subject to a REMS currently. You have said you'll do a top to bottom review. Do you continue to stand by that? And don't you think that this new data shows that the need to do a review is in fact very pressing?
I think the new
Aged
data
urine.
validates
He's a piss drinker.
which is previously probably the most comprehensive data that we've seen on it, and it is...
There's only one kind of pissing I want to do, and that's pissing in Dan Crenshaw's eye pussy. Where's Dan been? He hasn't made any headlines recently.
Clearly, it indicates
been laying low. The Oculusy.
label should be changed. I've asked Marty McCary,
Oculusy sounds like a Spider-Man villain.
who's the director of FDA, to do a complete review and to report back.
Doc Ock is short for Dr. Oculusy. How long ago was Kevin? It feels like forever since Kevin McCarthy was Speaker of the House. It's just like was it like a year ago? About this time last year, something like that? Am I wrong? God, it's been a long year. Kevin McCarthy on with Fox and Friends outnumbered. I guess I'm going to say yes to this orgy couch.
This is exactly what the Democrats do and why they continue to lose. They don't believe in allowing Democrats pick who should lead them.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's right. And he's young, he's smart, and he's going to be around, and this is only going to elevate him. And the whole thing he's saying is, if you're old and not working to win a majority, you ought to leave. There's no reason Nancy Pelosi is still around. She's taking a place. She's not helping him win. They have two leaders that aren't going to get him in the majority. Schumer can't even go on a book tour. Hakeem can't make a decision. AOC is the leader. AOC has raised more money in the last quarter than any member in Congress, 3 times as much as the Speaker. He's going to be next. And this is the future. If you want to win a majority, you have to fight for it. If you have people, a Maxine Waters that stays around all these years, it motivates nothing for them. Now, I don't want to solve their problem. I want to keep being a giant. But he's right. And they're going to elevate him, and he should fight this, and he will become the chairman of the party or get elected.
So on the
I agree with Kevin McCarthy because he's absolutely fucking right. I can't believe the DNC is going after David Hogg. What complete fucking morons. DNC moves to oust David Hogg after he says the party isn't standing up to Trump. The DNC cited a procedural concern, but Hogg said it is impossible to ignore the broader context of his criticism. Democratic National Committee panel voted on Monday to void the result of a vote electing David Hogg as vice chair of the party after the young Democrat criticized the party for being asleep at the wheel as the Trump administration moves the U.S. swiftly towards fascism. Good job, DNC. As a result of a challenge from Kaylin Free, a losing candidate in the election, the committee decided that the election was not conducted properly and that it violated the DNC's gender parity rules. If the full body of the DNC rules the same way, it will force Hogg and his fellow vice chair, Malcolm Kenyatta, to run for election again later this year. Hogg acknowledged the panel's stated reason for the vote, but said in a statement that it is impossible to ignore the broader context of my work to reform the party, which loomed large over this vote. Indeed, Hogg's PAC, Leaders We Deserve, recently announced an initiative to fund young primary challengers in the Democratic races. DNC Chair Ken Martin has chastised Hogg for his push, claiming that the party emphasizes neutrality, even though this is blatantly untrue, and many Democrats have routinely campaigned against progressive candidates. Absolutely. Raise hell, Hogg. I love it. I don't even agree with his politics.
He's kicking authority in the balls.
But he is absolutely right on the issue that the DNC needs younger candidates. Our country is in crisis and too many leaders in the Democratic Party are asleep at the wheel. Trump is on a mission to crash our economy, disappear people without due process, and participate in flagrant public corruption. And voters still trust him more than Democrats. Hogg said this in a statement. This is a massive indictment of our party. I hope that McCarthy is correct and this just emboldens David Hogg and that he ends up being the party chairman. That's who they need as the party chairman right now. AOC is the leader of the party. David Hogg should be the chairman. I saw the clip earlier. I didn't put it on the list, but here, let's do this. Schumer was asked about Joe Biden in an interview. I believe this is the clip. Senator Chuck Schumer asked about Joe Biden's.
All right, Senator Chuck Schumer, I know you got to go. I appreciate your time today. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
soon, I hope. Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
Wait, what?
The panel joins us now. CNN political commentator Jonah Goldberg, the host.
That was right after the clip I wanted, actually. Holy shit. Oh, but apparently this is good. This is good, though. Let's watch it.
Chuck Toddcast, Chuck Todd, Democratic strategist Paul Begala, Republican pollster Kristen Soltis Anderson, both CNN political commentators. Chuck Todd, go.
He is among the people that are responsible for this. The leaders of the Democratic Party, the staff of the White House. And I have to say, I find everybody now talking to these authors, get out of here. Go home. You're part of the problem. Now you tell us? So I find...
Dang, Chuck Todd coming with some fire.
You know, the reason why the Democratic Party has less credibility today, here's an unpopular president, and the Democratic Party has a worse...
Curious or welcome in.
The Republican Party with this catastrophic governance that we've seen over the last 120 days. And yet, why is the Democratic Party in worse shape? Because of this distrust. Because of this, frankly, what the public feels as if the party leadership let them down and let this happen. He's as responsible as anybody else. He was a leader in the party. He could have said something sooner.
Damn. I didn't expect Chuck Todd to torch him like that. That was him reacting to this interview. This is the clip that I wanted to play.
Sunlight that's brought to this issue, they didn't want to make it public. The greater the public outcry there will be, and hopefully that will persuade this administration to not do this, not only dumb idea, but dangerous, dangerous idea.
Senator, I want to ask you also about what's been going on in the Democratic Party. You, of course, have come in for no small amount of criticism from members of your own party. I'm going to speak later in the hour with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who's talked about do-nothing Democrats, politicians, pundits.
Yeah, this dude right here.
He was including you in that criticism, and is there any validity to it?
All I know is that Democrats in the House and the Senate are fighting this new reconciliation bill tooth and nail. It's the largest Medicaid cut in history. If it happens, 14 million people will lose their health care between this and ACA. Many more will pay, their premiums will go through the roof. Rural hospitals, local hospitals will close. Many, many will be thrown out of work, and many, many more will not get health care. So we are together. We're on our front foot. We're fighting very hard on this issue, and that's why the Republicans are having such trouble putting their reconciliation bill together. We're fighting on this. We're fighting on social...
Fucking useless.
Finally, when you realize they're cutting Medicaid, cutting health care, going after Social Security.
He's looking at notes.
For tax breaks for the billionaires, it's outrageous. And the public is on our side on this issue.
I do hear the Democratic messaging that you always say that the Republic is on the side for. Sir, I really do want to ask you about something that has been breaking out of CNN. Our Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson have written a book called Original Sin, and they call it a cover-up of Biden's health and his cognition and his fitness, quite frankly, to be president of the United States. You sat next to Biden in the Oval Office February 27th, 2024, just a handful of months before the president took that debate stage. And it was later reported that you and other Democratic leaders were talking before the debate about having a plan. You and Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama. I understand you later denied that ever happened. But
Nightmare blunt rotation.
know whether the man that you saw sitting there on that couch on that day, you were in there, you saw him up close and personal. Did you really not have any idea that he was not fit to serve a second term?
Casey, we're looking forward. We have the largest Medicaid cut in front of us. We have the whole federal
You're
government
facing all
at
of this
risk.
because you lost a presidential election. And is
Look.
that not Joe Biden's responsibility for deciding to run again?
We're looking forward.
That's it?
That's it.
If that's your answer, that you're looking forward, step the fuck down. How many elections have you lost now? How many times have you lost to Donald Trump? How many times have you had your agenda stifled by the Republicans? You are useless. Step down. Leave now. Let somebody else lead the party. Fuck you, Chuck Schumer. Here's one for you. Some Congress people. Oh, hold on. Fuck the Chuck. Yes. Fuck the Chuck. Before we get to that, I skipped something here. Douglas County Treasurer John Ewing Jr. John Ewing Jr. This sounds like a dude from the show Dallas. Defeats Gene Stotthert in Omaha's mayoral election. This is a deep red constituency. Democrats pull off an upset.
Omaha will have a new mayor. John Ewing Jr. accepts victory as Gene Stotthert concedes. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rob McCartney.
I'm Julie Cornell. Stotthert addressed her campaign party just moments ago, saying that she called and congratulated the new mayor of Omaha, John Ewing Jr. You saw it live on Newswatch 7 at 9. Now, new results posted just 15 minutes ago. Ewing Jr. currently leads Stotthert by 9,000 votes.
Omaha's news leader has team commit coverage 2025 tonight. We're checking in on city council races as well. We're live at the mayoral candidate parties across the metro.
That's where KET.
Comradsky, Ducky, welcome in.
Our commitment coverage from John Ewing's campaign watch.
That is exactly what Chuck Schumer is saying. You'll get his power. You pry it from his gnarled arthritic hands.
Party. Bill.
Rob, Julie, good.
Or when AOC beats him.
Joined by Omaha's next mayor right now, John Ewing Jr. Let's get right to it. Mr. Ewing, you shared a story at the top of your speech. What was that?
I had talked to a couple pastors in Omaha about 13 years ago. I was in the legislative chambers, and a pastor named Leroy Adams told me I was going to be the first black mayor.
Leroy Adams.
I was like, oh, okay. Then I went down the escalators, and Pastor Cedric Perkins was at the bottom of the escalators, and he told me I was going to be the first black mayor of Omaha. So it really resonated with me and just kind of always stuck with me. And here we are today.
Sounds like a long-term goal. What's it mean to reach that goal?
You know, it feels amazing. One of the things I've always wanted to do is be a mentor and an example for the young people in our community so they could believe that their dreams were possible. And I hope they're watching tonight. I hope they believe that their dreams.
Is it ever a wrong time for a World of Warcraft joke, my lord? Also, I don't play it. I only know the video from like Tosh.0.
Are possible.
Mr. Ewing, what do the first few months of your administration look like?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is get some sleep tonight. Then I'm going to get up and actually do one of the things I love. We have our 98 Honor Roll Recognition Program that Downtown Rotary puts on every year for 8th grade students. So I'll be over at the CHI Center presenting the awards to those young people.
Well, that sounds boring as fuck.
Story with them. And then after that, I've got a recognition ceremony at UNO, but I'm going to enjoy tomorrow. Then I'm going to get to work. I've already talked to some people about being on the team to help us start filling out the cabinet. I've got some other people that we've had some conversations with as well. So I believe we're going to just keep working. That's the only thing I know how to do is just
keep on trugging.
Mr. Ewing, thank you for your time and congratulations.
That is the first black mayor of Omaha, Nebraska. Let's go to this. This is wild. Some Congress people have found a secret passage inside the House.
So this is one of the neat things about the U.S. Capitol. Of course, this building, construction started in the 1700s. And there are all sorts of little hidden passageways. You saw I just pulled this cover up. And you can see if we get the camera to come over, don't fall in. We don't need a workers' comp claim today. But you can see there's a passageway. These are long stairs that used to be here that were closed off. We're just off of what's called Statuary Hall, which at one time was the actual House chamber. So, and it's outside there. But this is just an example of some of the little hidden secrets in the Capitol. And so one of the things when we bring tour groups in, if it's a small enough group, if it's a big group.
It seems like that could be like a, what would you call it? Say if I was a foreign adversary and I was doing reconnaissance on the Capitol. Knowing things like this about it would probably be a intelligence breach or whatever. Flash, you could probably put that into better terminology than me.
But it's a small group will actually take them down this hole. Believe it or not, my big self have actually gotten down and more importantly out of this hole. I'm not going to debut that again for today, but suffice to say I've been able to live and tell about it and get out of there. But it goes all the way down. It's an old staircase, and I'm told, I can't verify this, I'm told that this staircase, which opens to, if you go down, it formerly opened to the outside, was one of the staircases that British soldiers used.
Well, I'm just saying, if, say, this information was shared on Discord with the Proud Boys in 2020, might have been useful for something.
When they breached the Capitol during the War of, I think it was 1814, when they actually attacked Washington. When they came in, it was one of the stairs that British soldiers actually came up. So a lot of just amazing history in this building. And so when folks come from North Carolina, we try to show
Tower X Live!
things are time right. And actually,
welcome in, Raiders. Welcome. MILF, so glad to see you. Dild the Dane, welcome in, friends. You know what that means. We're gonna have to pack a bong up here. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's alright to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
All we're establishing is this guy's wicked sick aesthetic.
Not high enough for this shit.
I guess I gotta thank Matt Walsh for introducing me to JustinFREAKIN.
Hey there, y'all. We're about to get stupid, locked into what that news be doing. Fu Manchu and a slick bandana, colder than ice, smoother than Santana. Audio, video, chat and calls. Right-wing nut jobs haunt the halls. What you wanna watch? Hey, what you think? And there's only one choice. It's JustinFREAKIN.
The guy's, he's a formidable voice in the culture.
Light one up and tip one back. It's a right to be high. Let's grab a snack. It's fucking news, quit panic, attack, and play your cards right and get a titty slap. Jump in Discords, have some fun. The man will talk to everyone. Get high and try to debate. When shit pops off, chat thinks it's great. What do you think you're doing? Join the troll patrol. Wherever discourse is brewing, he gives it that southern drawl.
So let's go ahead and bring in Justin. Hey Justin, how's it going, brother?
First of all, I want to say you're poser South. I'm in Alabama. I'm the real South.
Okay, all right. So why don't you tell us what it takes to be a man?
Well, I don't know. I'm in Alabama and I'll fuck a man in a dress. Why won't you fuck a man in a dress? Are you that insecure that you won't fuck a man in a dress?
That's fantastic. So you're okay with that, right?
Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Right-wingers are morons.
Light one hit and hit one back. One more click before we hit the set an alert when that shit goes live. Social fucking support and hit subscribe. Light one up and take a hit. He does no harm, but he takes no shit. He's the last one standing when the ship is sinking. Let's take another rip for JustinFREAKIN.
Light one up, tip one back. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
Not high enough for this shit.
You heard the lady. Light one up, tip one back. Why the dude wouldn't wear a dress? Well, he ended up getting arrested for his role in January 6th. I think he also did some sort of tax fraud or some shit. He got his real estate license revoked. And I don't think he does podcasts anymore. I don't think he does podcasts anymore because I ended his show. He had a thing called Man Up Monday. He shut that down after I manned up a couple different times. Welcome in, Raiders. If you don't know me, I'm JustinFREAKIN. We find out what that news be doing Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We just kind of finished up with the politics, and we're transitioning into what we call like the crime section of the show. So I'm going to hit the content warning. This next story is kind of a rough one. Buckle up for this one. A family says that a woman that was declared brain dead still has her pregnancy continuing because of Georgia law.
Tonight, a Metro Atlanta mother lies brain dead in a hospital room, being kept alive only because she's pregnant.
So her case is now raising a lot of new questions about Georgia's controversial heartbeat law. Adriana Smith's family said,
we call this a reverse Shivo.
Without a voice while doctors try to keep her body functioning long enough to deliver her baby.
11 Alive's Cody Alcorn is live outside of Emory Midtown, where Adriana was just moved hours ago. Cody, what have you learned about what's going on here?
Well, Jennifer and Ron, Adriana has been on a ventilator for the past 90 days. Now, as you mentioned, she was moved here just hours ago so doctors can deliver her baby when it is time. Her family visits her every day, including her young son, who believes his mom is just sleeping. A crushing, emotional imagine. The family says it's been made worse because they have no say on what happens next. 30-year-old Adriana Smith was about 9 weeks pregnant when she started having bad headaches in February.
Enough to know that something was wrong.
April Newkirk says her daughter went to Northside Hospital for help.
They gave her some medication, but they didn't do any tests. They didn't do any CT scans. If they did, they would have caught it.
The next morning, Adriana's boyfriend noticed something was terribly wrong.
She was gasping for air in her sleep, gargling. More than likely it was blood. She was taken to Emory, Decatur, and then she was
Yeah, if he's not married to her, he might not have.
University Hospital, where Adriana worked as an RN.
Right.
Unfortunately, there was nothing doctors could do.
They did a CT scan and she had blood clots all in her head. So they had asked me if they could do a procedure to relieve them, and I said yes. And then they called me back and they said that they couldn't do it.
Doctors declared Adriana brain dead.
I feel as if somebody dropped the ball at the hospitals, and her boyfriend asked, please keep her. If she was kept at the hospital, we wouldn't be here.
Because of Georgia's heartbeat bill, which bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, her family says they weren't given any say in what happens next.
It's torture for me. I come here and I see my daughter breathing by the ventilator, but she's not there. And I'm touching her. And she has a son who I bring to see her.
Now, 21 weeks pregnant, her baby's health uncertain.
She's pregnant with my grandson, but my grandson may be blind, may not be able to walk, wheelchair bound. We don't know if he'll live once she has him.
A situation she says no one should be forced into.
Yes!
To the family. Because I'm in my 50s, her dad is in his 50s, so we're going to have the responsibility with her partner to raise her sons, you know? And I'm not saying that we would have chose to terminate her pregnancy. What I'm saying is we should have had a choice.
Yes!
We should have had a choice.
It's likely doctors will not induce Adriana for at least another month. And it's not just the baby's health the family is worried about, also a medical bill. They say that continues to grow.
Whoa!
All right, Cody, thank you so much. We know you'll continue to follow this story. for us. And right now, under Georgia law, once a fetal heartbeat is detected, abortion is illegal, even in cases like Adriana's. In most states, decisions would defer to the mother or the next of kin, especially if the baby is unlikely to survive. But because Adriana is brain dead and no longer technically at risk herself, the law requires doctors to keep her alive until the baby can survive on its own.
Dystopian. And like, I'm like, what happens if that child is like somehow has some sort of defect? Man. Let's continue on the parade of stories that's going to make everybody in the chat mad. We just celebrated the 5th anniversary of the Troll Patrol on the 1st anniversary of the Troll Patrol. No, it was the 2nd. It was the 2nd anniversary of the Troll Patrol. The 2nd anniversary of the Troll Patrol. We got a very special present for the 2nd anniversary. Right as I was coming on, we got the verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial, and we watched that pig get put in handcuffs and taken away. Unfortunately, there is now a push from dipshits on the right to pardon this motherfucker.
Today, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene called for a pardon of Derek Chauvin, the ex-cop convicted of murder in the death of George Floyd. The White House has not responded. Yesterday, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said he doesn't agree, but he's been preparing community members just in case. Chauvin was convicted on both federal and state crimes. Governor Walz says if Chauvin is pardoned federally, he'll be transferred to a Minnesota state prison. Chauvin is currently being held at a low-security federal prison in Big Spring, Texas.
Well, you know what? Actually, now that we know that he's at a minimum security federal prison, and that if he's pardoned on the federal level, he just goes back down to the state to serve his state time. You know what? Yeah. Why don't you do that? Do that. Put him in a state. Put him in the state lockup. Probably be better for everybody. State lockups look a little something like this. This is video from a state lockup where apparently a riot broke out. You can see the COs over there getting assaulted. Ooh. Oh, he got kicked in the head. Wait, does that dude have him in a figure 4? Cop's got bear mace. Looks like a female CO. Not much of a prison riot, to be honest. I don't know exactly what set the dude off. But man, this cop wanted to throw some hands and got knocked the fuck down. Did you see him? Oh my God. The one little scrawny cop, he wanted to throw down. He gets his ass knocked down just as soon as he gets in on it. He gets kicked in the head. Oh, was that not bear mace? Was that just pepper spray? I thought when it streamed out like that, it was bear mace. I'm not up on my different types of mace, no. This happened in Big Stone Gap, Virginia. Video shows multiple officers walk into a pod and are immediately attacked. The Virginia Department of Corrections said 3 guards were stabbed in the incident and 2 others were injured. Officials said 5 of the 6 inmates are confirmed MS-13 gang members. I find that hard to believe. The identities of these inmates have not yet been confirmed, but officials did tell News 5 the inmates were convicted of violent crimes, including aggravated murder, first and second degree murder, and rape. All officers injured in the attack have been released from the hospital. The attack remains under investigation. 5 of the 6 were Trendiawagwa. I'm sorry, MS-13. This one dude's scrappy. He fucking knocked that cop down. Went after the woman, knocked her down. Man, I love this dude. This dude right here. He got some moves. Oh yeah, oh shit, did you see that? Oh God, he spanked him. Did you guys see that? He spanked the cop. Keep your eye on him. Love this guy. Seriously, he's like the smallest of all of them. Goes after the fat cop. There, he knocks that dude down. Goes after the woman CO, knocks her down. Back at the fat cop. Doesn't get him off his feet. Goes over, starts spanking this guy. Now the fat cop's off his feet. Now he runs. The fat cop kind of tackled one of the guys, but he wasn't even the lead rioter. It was that one guy that was bouncing all around. He fucking spanked a cop. Got 2 takedowns and spanked a cop. There's 1 takedown. Number 2. Almost gets fat guy off his feet. Then spanks this cop. I mean, if you're already convicted of murder, the only thing you got to lose is you go to solitary, and solitary is a bitch. Because they said this is a pod. This is like a general population pod. Where there's, 30, 40 of them can hang out. They've got cards, board games, shit like that. You can watch some TV. Solitary, not fun, because, yeah, you can see some of them are at the phone. This is like their chill out area. Mad props to Orange Hat Towel guy. He's got some moves. I do think he has something in his hand. I think he's got a shiv or something. Maybe he's not spanking him. Maybe he's stabbing him. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe that was his shoulder and not his ass. I thought he was getting spanked in the ass. But maybe he's getting stabbed in the shoulder instead. Yeah, he's getting stabbed in the shoulder. I'm sorry. Thought he's getting spanked in the ass. I'm sure he had to wash it after that.
Life is too short to walk this earth for a crusty asshole. Wash your ass.
You're gonna send me a bear mace demo video to use as an animal video? Really? Oh, I didn't put P. Diddy in the reason why he had so much oil. We found out why he had so much baby oil today. I should not laugh. It's horrible. A teen in New Jersey. Hold on, let me try that again. A teen in New Jersey has escaped after allegedly being held captive for years.
First, a horrific case of child abuse in Camden County. A Gloucester Township couple is accused of chaining up a girl in their home, holding her captive for years, and sexually abusing her. The 18-year-old victim managed to escape and alert a neighbor who...
So much inappropriate laughter. So much inappropriate laughter on this show. Globus, good evening.
Then helped her contact authorities.
Now, authorities announced charges today against 38-year-old Brenda Spencer and her husband, 41-year-old Brandon Mosley, this afternoon. It all began in 2018 when they pulled that girl out of 6th grade.
Over the years that followed, the victim was allegedly chained up in a bathroom and at times forced to live in a dog crate.
Action News reporter.
My God.
Outside that home in Blackwood this afternoon with more on these incredibly disturbing charges. Annie.
Yeah, and the defendants include the victim's mother and stepfather. 2 girls actually lived in that home, Brian and Sarah, a 13-year-old and the 18-year-old. At this point, the charges are only for the abuse of the 18-year-old.
What?
Allegations that inside this Gloucester Township home, an 18-year-old woman was held captive by her mother and stepfather for years. This couple, 38-year-old Brenda Spencer and 41-year-old Brandon Mosley, now facing serious charges, including kidnapping. Mosley facing sexual abuse charges.
At other times, she was forced to live in a bare room with just a bucket to use instead of a toilet. She explained the bare room had an alarm system that would alert the defendants.
The victim, now 18, alleges she was pulled out of school in the 6th grade. Investigators say the mom reported to the school district she was homeschooled. The victim told police she wasn't allowed outside of the home and was
Homeschool, always a red flag, it seems.
Padlocked bathroom.
Almost always a red flag.
The belt and sexually abused by Mosley.
She definitely had scars on her wrist from, I think, being chained up.
A neighbor who did not want to be identified tells us she ran to his home last Thursday after she escaped. He hadn't seen her in 11 years.
She had her head shaved, and she said that for punishment, her mother would shave her head.
The neighbor said he contacted 911.
She did not disclose this information about being held to this level. We did send officers to the house.
That sparked the investigation, and the couple was arrested over the weekend.
I did find it strange that the kids never came outside, only to get food out the car and go back in. But other than that, you never see them. They don't go to school. They don't play with other children or anything like that.
Now, it's not clear if the 13-year-old did suffer any abuse. The prosecutor's office would only say that the case is still ongoing. As for the stepfather, Mosley, we do know that he worked for SEPTA. SEPTA officials have said he's been placed on leave. For now, reporting live in Blackwood, Annie McCormick, Channel 6, Action News. Brian and Sarah.
Incredibly disturbing details.
That's the bus system, right? The SEPTA. God damn. Well, let me give you another one. Eyewitness account from a victim and a police sergeant. I'm sorry, a survivor and a former police officer. Give us details in a sex trafficking ring out of a Colorado home.
William Tidwell. It's a name you
Tidwell.
not know.
There are dozens of women who are trying to forget that they ever met him. Tidwell pled guilty to multiple felony charges.
William Tidwell. It's a name
William
you
Tidwell.
not know.
There are dozens of women who are trying to forget that they ever
William Tidwell
pled guilty to multiple felony charges and was sentenced to 20 years in prison for human trafficking, for sexual servitude, sexual assault, and sexual exploitation of a child. One of the women he sexually trafficked and abused is telling her story tonight. She tells your investigator Brian Moss that he turned her and other vulnerable women into, quote, sex slaves, forcing them to live in a virtual dungeon in his home.
Yeah, Brian's with us, of course. This is such a difficult thing to talk about. Why is she talking now, Brian?
Yeah, incredibly painful to talk about, but she wants to tell other women who find themselves in situations like hers what to do and how they can get out of them. And if they do get caught up like she did, they can escape and recover. Now, we want to warn you, some of the descriptions in this report may be difficult for some viewers to hear.
You're locked down. You eat what he tells you to, you put on what he tells you to, you go where he tells you to, and that becomes the only thing that you know. And so you follow it because that's the only thing you can do.
It was at this modest house in North Glen.
Did you feel like a sex slave in that house?
Very much so.
That this woman, who we are calling Emily, became someone she did not recognize.
I felt like a pet, like, you know, kind of like sit, stay, do what you're told kind of thing. It was just so degrading, and I felt so worthless and powerless.
And she wasn't the only one.
So most of you know.
Police, prosecutors, and numerous women now say the owner of the home, William Tidwell, lured
this guy
20 women, many in their teens, into his home for years, forcing them to be his sex slaves.
We had to call him master or sir, and he would only refer to us as his slaves.
According to police and Emily, Tidwell intimidated the women through threats, psychological manipulation, and physical violence.
I was beaten and bloody almost on a weekly or daily basis. He would drag me by my hair down the stairs, throw me around the garage. Most of the time I had black eyes and busted lips.
This is Kick Messenger.
Emily was just 17 in 2019 when she says she met Tidwell on this chat site. He was 46 at the time.
Messages are hidden away in the app, so they're not easy for parents to find.
She lived in what she calls a chaotic home, part of a troubled family where she spent all of her time at school or in her room. She says she was naive, isolated, and vulnerable.
I'd never really been taught the dangers of the outside world or online.
Over 6 months of online communications, she says Tidwell exploited that innocence, portraying himself as someone who could rescue her and provide her love, a family, and a safe life. He shared pictures indicating he was a police officer. Investigators say that was all made up.
I mean, a career out of it.
I love my job.
With dozens and dozens and dozens of women and children. If he had to be good at anything.
Oh, he's playing cop?
So good, he convinced her to leave her family home. He drove from Colorado to pick her up, promising her a fulfilling life at his home in the Denver suburbs.
I was so nervous, probably the most nervous I've ever been in my life.
According to this police report, Tidwell met numerous young women in their teens and early 20s online, convincing them to move into his home. But once here, Emily says she found herself living in a dingy room in his basement with 3 other women who arrived here in similar ways. Police say Tidwell presented the women who came into his home with a 75-page manual or contract, which dictated that he was the master and they were slaves who would provide sex on demand. Police say on Tidwell's hard drives and cell phones, they found thousands of images of him having sex with the women he had brought into his home, along with child pornography. According to police, Tidwell pressed the women to make money for him by doing sex work via online platforms and advertising themselves as prostitutes on.
Oh yeah, this is totally a hustler's you, isn't it?
Who said she'd never had sex before all this. Says Tidwell acted as a pimp, taking her to meet men, then taking the money she was paid.
How often were you having to do that?
Anywhere from a couple times a week to a few times a day. I hated it. I have never felt worse about myself.
It all finally came to an end for Emily and the other women with this police raid of Tidwell's home in the summer of 2023. Tidwell had been arrested days earlier for sexually assaulting a woman near Netherlands. Soon after, police executed a search warrant at his home, but were not prepared for what they found.
And it was extremely shocking. It was disgusting.
and it was pure evil.
The lead police investigator in the case, now working undercover, was stunned to find young women spilling out of Tidwell's home.
Second one, are you ready?
Like a clown car.
As slaves for years.
He had this this mindset that they were his, and he was allowed to sell them. He was allowed to give them to his friends. He was allowed to.
So he's finding transient
The
women.
investigator says all the girls met Tidwell online, all coming from troubled lives.
Yep.
Tidwell exploited their vulnerabilities.
Yep.
The thing that shocked me the most out of all of it was how much he had mentally and emotionally abused these girls.
Yeah, what did he actually do for a living?
And believe he was who he said he was, but not who he really was. And I mean that by he was an evil human.
Look that up, Flash, please.
The arrival of police signified an end to years of beatings and enslavement for Emily.
This is the first time that I took a deep breath in about 4.5 years.
Within 48 hours, Emily finally headed home.
I was free. I remember sitting at the airport on my way to my grandmother's house, and I was just looking at the planes taking off and crying. I was just so excited to have my freedom and my life back.
We did try to reach William Tidwell in prison, but did not hear back. That police investigator says he estimates Tidwell enslaved some 20 women over the years. And he says there are some things
the house was relatively small, possibly like family money or something. He was living on some sort of inheritance, something to that effect. Maybe he's on disability, pushing them to do OnlyFans and shit. Maybe he didn't have an actual job, but did he just order the badge and shit? He was sitting in a car that had the backing like it was a police car. I wonder how he got that picture.
We did try to reach William Tidwell in prison, but did not hear back. That police investigator says he estimates Tidwell enslaved some 20 women over the years. And he says there are some things parents can do to try to prevent something like this happening to your children. Be more aware of what your kids are doing. Teach them the realities of the internet and social media, and pay attention to their search history, what chat rooms or forums they are in. And Michael and Karen, he says for young women, a red flag for them to look out for online is another person who portrays themselves as a savior or a guardian-like figure who suggests that they've had the same experiences as these young girls and is just like you. That's part of that whole grooming process online.
Yeah, a really important message for everyone out there, and we're so grateful not only for his advice, but for that woman sharing her story.
Yeah, very brave.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Yep.
I'm sorry that's the last story I had. Now it's like an animal video. I feel like I can't end on that, so Twitch people, stick with me. We'll watch a police chase. I can't really end on that. We'll do a police chase. Listen to music. That'll be fun. That'll lighten the mood. Here's your animal video, not a bear mace.
And some very
Yeah, this is the chat room.
Is caught on video again. But as KCAL's Michelle Geely shows us,
This is an AOL chat.
much more.
Did you not know that, Komradsky?
The Orange County mountain lion named Newport is alive and well, and
I was the freaking one
years after
on AOL.
running through an Irvine shopping center, swimming in Lake Mission Viejo, and hiding out in the town where he ultimately.
Yeah, it said he wasn't a cop. He was impersonating a cop.
They're basically for hunters to monitor areas for wildlife. We buy them. We don't hunt, but we just set them out and just monitor the areas.
Newport's latest
Age, sex, location.
trail camera in the Santa Ana Mountains on May 7th.
Look at this baby.
Was recorded doing something he's often caught doing, scratching himself on a branch. The curious cat then came in for his close-up.
So Newport, for some reason, his face seems to always be itchy, but every time he finds a stick where we have cameras, he just gets super into it and just itches himself, and he just loves like a good little massage.
Gerardo and his photography partner, Rachel DeVlute, have placed about 50 cameras along trails in the Santa Ana Mountains. Once a week, they hike in and retrieve the footage.
They have hundreds of clips posted on their Orange County Outdoors website. Animals like skunks, deer, raccoons, foxes, possums, and a few different mountain lions, including Newport, who has been showing up on camera more often.
Oh, Newport.
We do this for fun. Rachel and I just go out there, and it's very entertaining for us. It's also nice because we can educate the public about the mountain lions because there's so much fear about them. Obviously, we hear when there's an attack and stuff. So it's nice to educate people about what to do when they encounter a mountain lion.
At this point, Newport is the star of the show. In Foothill Ranch, Michelle Geely, KCAL News.
Newport is cute. You're just a big old kitty cat. No, go back. God damn it. I hate you, CBS. Okay, if I die cuddling a big kitty, don't feel sorry for me. If you hear that I OD'd or committed suicide, don't believe it, the government killed me. If I died of a heart attack or because a big kitty ate me, that actually happened. Believe that. That story is plausible. I am not the healthiest eater. Will probably die alone of a heart attack or being ate by a big kitty like this. If you're watching on YouTube, Kick, Facebook, the podcast, go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol, live. Twitch people, stick with us. We're going to watch a police chase because